Hello, welcome back everybody to the Daily Cooking Show, to the cooking stream. I hope you're all having an excellent Thursday. We're doing an emergency Thursday stream, so this is atypical for anybody that may just be now tuning in. If this is your first time, we typically do streams Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. I will be off this Friday and Sunday because I will be commentating Brawlhalla. Instead, we're doing a little Thursday stream, and then I'll make it up to you. I'll be posting a new schedule. New Tim, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Welcome on in. Hello, hello, hello. I see that we have all of my lovely sous chefs in chat. Hello to Serena Chess. Hello to Audio Murphy. Hello to Trash Can Cat Mom. Hello to Liam. Hello to Dosky. Hello to David Lee Gorogoth. Hydrate. Okay. Thank you for the reminder, Liam. Guys, I don't know. Are we doing hair down or are we doing hair up today? I don't really know what the vibe is at the moment. Hello to Ritual. Hello to Nicholas. Hello to Just Crazy Cookie. Welcome on in. Hello to OMG Pete as well. I'm glad that so many people have decided to come through today. Maybe we should do Thursday streams a little bit more often. I guess we'll find out. And also hello to WW. Hi. So everybody, we're going to be doing something that I actually think is a first. We have made plenty of incidentally vegetarian dishes. I don't think we've actually ever made a vegan dish on stream before. I know people have been really asking for a vegan dish for quite some time already. And so I'm happy to be able to show that off a little bit. I never particularly make a lot of like vegan food with like the intention of it being vegan. Instead, what I really like doing, I never think of things in terms of, oh, I'm going to be replacing, I'm going to be substituting something, you know, with like a meat substitute. Also, thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you. And we have a hype train going. Look at that. But yeah, I've never really thought of it as we're looking for explicitly vegan cooking. We're never looking for explicitly vegan food. What I do is I look around a lot of different cultures and I look at dishes that I want to eat. And some of them are incidentally or, you know, they just so happen to be vegan. And this is going to be one of those today. So I'm pretty excited about today's stream. The inspiration for this was that my mom wanted some hummus. And so I was like, okay, what can we do with hummus? Well, with hummus, whenever I'm making a batch of chickpeas, what's really nice to do is essentially have chickpeas two ways. And so what I really wanted to do was to have this really beautiful sandwich. I wanted to have a sandwich with some hummus and both like crispy chickpeas in it. So that way we get like a real duality of chickpea. We get like the really creamy, really rich, really buttery notes of it in the hummus itself. And then we also get to have some of the more like crispy, some of the more meaty qualities when we end up browning it up in the pan as well. And so all of that is going to be packed into this really beautiful sandwich. Alongside, I'm going to have a bunch of fresh herbs in there. I looked at my fridge. I have dill, I have cilantro, I have parsley. I'll be using all three of them because the intention of today is to use up all of these fresh herbs that I have in the fridge. I have all these fresh herbs. I have these chickpeas that I want to use up. And so we're going to make a lovely hummus. With these crispy chickpeas, and then I also have some old onions, so I wanted to make some pickled onions as well. And that way, we're going to get an incredibly balanced sandwich if you think about it. We'll have like the bread as the base, we'll have like this creamy hummus on both layers, we're going to have a little bit of arugula just because I happen to have some in my fridge. I don't typically buy arugula. And then we're going to have some of this like really delicious meaty chickpeas, some more hummus, and then some pickled onions right on top. So we're gonna have some acidity from the pickled onions, we're gonna have creaminess from the hummus, we're gonna have some real meatiness and spice and flavor from like the pan roasted chickpeas that we're going to do. So, is everybody ready to walk through some ingredients? I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, from everybody watching. Please and thank you. Lovely. And so everybody, every hummus starts with, of course, chickpeas, aka garbanzo beans. Now, I've actually started soaking my chickpeas. And the reason I've started soaking my chickpeas is actually for digestibility reasons, not cooking reasons. We're going to be doing these in a pressure cooker. Everybody, I want you all to get into the habit of working with dried beans. I want you all to get into the habit of working with dried chickpeas instead of canned ones. The beauty of dried chickpeas, dried garbanzo beans, or any kind of beans is, first of all, it's a lot cheaper. It is up to, 50-25% cheaper. Second of all, you get to really control the texture. The issue is with a lot of canned beans, even in canned beans of the same brand, you get a lot of inconsistency in the cooking. Think about the fact that we're making a hummus today. Think about the fact that we're making crispy chickpeas. For the hummus, we want some really soft, really cooked through chickpeas. For the crispy chickpeas, we want them to be a little bit more firm and toothsome. If you're buying canned chickpeas, all of that control has been completely released. There is no designation on a can of chickpeas if these are soft cooked or hard cooked. Those are decisions that you need to be able to make as a cook, and so I want all of you to get into the habit of working with dried legumes. It's cheaper and you get to have a lot more control of the end product. So I've had it soaking in some water for a couple of hours. It's going to make the cook time a little bit faster. We're going to be doing it in a pressure cooker. And I'll be walking you through how to do exactly that. And so, another reason why I really wanted to do hummus today, everybody, was because I wanted another excuse to use my molcajete. So molcajete, traditionally used, of course, in the Latin American and Mexican cooking, you wouldn't really typically see, a Mexican molcajete in Middle Eastern cooking. But this is going to be the perfect vessel in which to make the hummus. We're going to be able to grind the garlic, grind up the chickpea skins, and make sure that it gets really, really nice and smooth while still controlling the texture. And so, I just really want another excuse to be able to use this thing. And it might take a while, it might be a little bit laborious, but you know what? It'll still be fun. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that massive, I measured it, it was 20 pounds. Will we get tall like Chef? That's right too, you know. How much was one? As in one what? That molcajete itself? That one was, I think, 90 bucks. Or are you talking about the dried chickpeas? Okay, next, let's talk about some of our other components for today. We're going to need some onion because we're going to be making pickled onions. I typically like to go with a red onion. I actually have a red onion, so we might just end up using that instead. So we're gonna make some pickled onion, and then we're going to cook the chickpeas with some of the onion as well. And then I have this incredible assortment and medley of fresh herbs. I have some fresh dill that I wanted to use up. We're going to throw some into the pickles and throw some into the sandwich as well. I have all of this fresh parsley, and the parsley itself is also going to go into... And the parsley itself is also going to go into the sandwich, and it's going to be really pleasant and delicious. And then, of course, from last stream, as you may remember, I have a big fresh bundle of cilantro. And everybody, I want you all to pay attention. I want to hear the nice resounding yes, chef, from everybody watching. The way that I want you to keep fresh, soft herbs, like parsley, like cilantro, like dill, like chives, you want to keep it in a Tupperware with a paper towel. The paper towel is what controls the humidity and stops it from getting, either too dry or too wet in there. All too often, people, they buy a big bundle of fresh herbs because you can't buy very little in supermarkets. Despite some supermarkets, you can buy like a little plastic package for like $1.50. It's insane. Buy a big bundle of fresh herbs, and then by the end of the week, it ends up going bad. Fresh herbs in a home setting in the United States, you're always racing against time to use these up before they end up going bad. Okay, and so by keeping a little paper towel in there, the paper towel acts as a lovely natural humidity regulator, and then I'll get to show you all the different ways that we'll be using all these herbs today. So that's where the inspiration for today's dish is coming from. I have all of these things and I don't want to waste them. I didn't go out and explicitly shop for today's stream. I looked at what I had, and now we were deciding to make the most out of them. So is this an existing sandwich with this collection of herbs? No, but I know that the fresh taste of cilantro and dill and parsley, all of it's going to go together beautifully. Okay, so the point of home cooking, everybody, is to minimize waste and make sure that you're using as much of your produce as possible at all times. So the first order of operations that we're going to do, we're going to be cooking down the chickpeas. We're going to be cooking down the chickpeas. I need to go ahead and get them basically half cooked. What I'm going to be shooting for is to get the chickpeas firm enough that I can then take some out, reserve them for the crispy chickpeas, and then go ahead and put the rest back into the pressure cooker. For the hummus itself, you basically want chickpeas that are kind of falling apart. And then for the crispy chickpeas, you want them to be a little bit more firm. So we're doing a two-stage cooking process. And then everybody, of course, let's talk about some of the seasonings that we'll need for today. I have this big bundle, or this big container, excuse me. I have some Greek tahini. I don't really know the difference between Greek tahini versus other kinds. Of course, you need some tahini in your hummus. Depending on the kind of hummus that you're doing, you may add more or less, and that is entirely dependent and up to you. It's going to bring a beautiful nuttiness into the whole thing. And then the other essential components for hummus, guys, you gotta have lemon and you gotta have garlic. Lemon for the acidity, and garlic, that pungency, is actually going to end up going away because we're going to be smashing up the garlic with the lemon juice, and the lemon juice is actually going to neutralize some of the pungency of the garlic. So we get a lot of like the deep garlic flavor, but not a lot of its abrasive harshness. And with that being said, I guess the last important ingredient is we're gonna need olive oil. We're gonna need plenty of olive oil. A really huge misconception. A lot of people, they mix olive oil into the hummus. Typically, I like having my olive oil exclusively as a topping atop my hummus itself. And the reason why I like having it as a topping is because you get that contrast. So there's not gonna be any olive oil mixed into the hummus itself. So everybody, are you ready to begin? we're going to begin with cooking the chickpeas. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I want you to do it. And everybody, before we begin, please, if you haven't already done so, check out my Patreon, !Patreon, or scroll down into the About section. I want to teach you all how to cook. I want to be able to do this full time one day. And in order to do that, any and all monetary help would be really, really appreciated. There's also an exclusive Discord, if you would like, that is for the Patreon only members, but that's really the only benefit. Any seasoning that you can put on chicken, you can put on steak keepers. I mean, typically I don't really heavily season my steaks or anything. Oh, what bread are we using today? Really good question, Audio Murphy. This is some Ukrainian or Russian, whatever, Eastern European style rye bread. This isn't black rye bread. This is a little bit more of the lighter one. And so this is actually a pretty big distinction. A lot of Eastern European rye breads, they're almost like pitch black. And the reason for that is because I believe they're cooked with some molasses. Also, Slippy, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you, thank you. I'm using this bread because that's what I had at home today. And so we're not actually going to be toasting this bread or anything because it'll get too brittle. I'm looking for this bread to be flexible enough. One issue sometimes when making sandwiches with chickpeas is that the chickpeas can really, really fall apart. If you wanted to do a wrap instead, I think that might be a bit more of an ideal vessel, but we'll try our best to get our chickpeas tender enough that they can fit inside. So everybody, without further ado, let us begin. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly take you over to my stove. This is my pressure cooker pot, and it's sitting here and it's ready to go. This is the pressure cooker pot in which we'll be making the chickpeas, and in here I have roughly 2 quarts of water. The golden ratio, everybody, I want you to go ahead and write this down. The golden ratio for cooking beans in a pressure cooker is 2 quarts of water, or a little under than 2 liters of water, to 1 pound of dried beans. 1 pound of chickpeas, doesn't really matter the legume. Okay. In fact, we could have probably undershot a little bit because we already soaked the chickpeas, but really the water ratio doesn't really matter. It just affects some of the cook times. So that's the one that I really want you to do. 2 quarts of water to 1 pound of dried chickpeas. Okay. So really quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and strain off my soaking liquid. My chickpeas have successfully soaked for a couple of hours. Everybody, again, it is not essential that you soak your chickpeas, but getting rid of some of the soaking liquid really, really does help with some of the digestibility in my experience. I've definitely noticed some problems when I didn't soak it previously. So, I mean, it's actually very subjective and it's really, really widely debated. So I'm just gonna go ahead and strain this out really quickly. Just get rid of all of that chickpea soaking liquid. It does also somewhat like affect the texture, right? The soaked chickpeas, they do tend to cook through a little bit easier because the water really, really permeates better over that like period of time. So I'm just taking a second, I'm just dumping that all over my sink. Excellent. And again, you don't have to get like every single last drop of water out, but most of it is okay. Also, hi Jane, welcome on in. Hello, hello, it's lovely to see you. So everybody, an entire pound, first dried pound, and then it soaked up a lot of liquid. We're going to go ahead and just throw that directly into the pot, okay? We no longer actually need this strainer or this bowl. They have done their job for us today. Lovely. All right. Now let's think about some of the other components that we actually want in here because we want to season these chickpeas. We want to go ahead and flavor them a little bit. So let's go ahead and go on over to the cutting board. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to delegate a couple of bay leaves. To just give the whole thing a really nice, pleasant, aromatic quality. You don't really want to get like these super tiny pieces of bay leaves. You want to get like some of the bigger pieces so that they don't like really break apart or anything and they're easy to pick out later. Okay, and so the amount of bay leaves you use is entirely up to you. You just want to get like a nice little collection of them. They're just kind of stuck in there. Okay, that amount of bay leaves I think will do just fine. Perfect. Yes, no. For hummus, you absolutely want olive oil. This is Middle Eastern cooking we're talking about. You need olive oil. And the reason why we need olive oil, especially in this dish, is because it's a tasty oil. It tastes really, really good. Things like canola oil, things like peanut oil, we're not really cooking with them. We're just garnishing with this oil. And so you want a really nice extra virgin olive oil. Jack, I have no idea what you're talking about. So everybody, some bay leaves. Gonna go ahead and throw these bad boys on in. Okay, next. I have basically half an old onion here. I'm going to go ahead and just peel this up really quickly. But the only thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to keep this root intact so that this onion doesn't fall apart. The entire point of the onion is just to contribute a very nice allium quality into the whole thing. Also, hello to Same. Welcome on in. The whole point of the onion is just to contribute a really nice, pleasant allium quality into the dish today. okay? And we don't really want pieces of it. We don't want like mushy onions throughout. So we cut off just like the dirty part of the root end, but then we're still keeping, you see like this yellow dried out root? Okay, it's going to keep the onion intact, so it's really functional for us. I just want to get rid of like the last of that skin, although if you washed your onion, you would have been more than fine. Okay, but yeah, Slippy, I would really recommend you, not even recommend, you need olive oil for something like this today. This is Middle Eastern cooking. This is the heart and soul of Middle Eastern cooking. You cannot have Middle Eastern and Mediterranean food without olive oil. It is essential. So half an old onion, just gonna go ahead and plunge that into the pot itself. Lovely. We'll also do like a nice big pinch of kosher salt. You don't have to season it now. You can also season it later. But guys, it's Middle Eastern cooking. It's, you know, if you're making Mediterranean food, Middle Eastern food, you need to have olive oil. That is the heart and the soul of that entire cuisine, right? Of that entire region. Okay, what's the other thing that I want? I want some garlic cloves. And garlic cloves, really similar idea. All I'm going to do is I'm going to peel them up over a bowl and we're going to give them a little smash. The more you smash and the more you press and the more you actually crush the cells of garlic, the more pungent it ends up getting, or rather the more flavor that you end up getting out of it. And so if we just put in whole garlic cloves without really pressing them, we're not really going to get any significant amount of garlic flavor. Okay, so we just need a few cloves. Something like this will be more than fine, 3-4 cloves, not really exact or anything. Yes, more smash, more flavor, and more pungency. So guys, whenever you see a dish that calls for sliced garlic versus minced garlic, they're two very different things. A minced garlic is a lot more concentrated, it's a lot more powerful, it's a lot more pungent. Okay, and there are some aromatics that also function in this way. Ginger, I believe, also being one of them. So, 3 garlic cloves. All I'm going to do, guys, my bench scraper. Also, hello to Shinji. Welcome on in. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. I'm going to go ahead and grab my garlic cloves. I'm going to grab my bench scraper. And I don't love using my knife to smash garlic. The reason why I don't love doing it is because you can easily like slip and cut yourself on it. So just using this flat piece of sheet metal is a lot nicer in my experience. So just go ahead and give that a little smash down. And again, you don't need to smash this into oblivion. You still want this garlic to be whole enough that you can easily just go ahead and pop it out. Okay? And just pop it out. Excellent. That's one. And the skins just come off this way as well as when you smash them. So this is both for flavor and then for function. It's okay if you don't get rid of all the skin, but I'd prefer to get as much of it as possible. Okay, there we go. Use a tortilla press for the garlic. Surely this bench scraper is lost. I suppose you can do that. I suppose that would just be fine. Okay guys, all this garlic, it's just going to go right inside. And also, I do think I want to refocus my camera a little bit. I think it's a little too zoomed out for me at the moment. So please bear with me for a second. As we just give that a little adjustment. My apologies. Okay, I think that should be okay. Much better. Okay, everybody, so once again, when we're cooking at home, I really love working with dried beans, dried legumes. Not only is it a lot cheaper than canned beans and canned legumes, it's also a little bit less wasteful because you don't have like the metal, of the cans and stuff, but you get to control the texture a lot better. You get to control the texture, and so we need 2 different textures. And so what I'm going to be shooting for today is I want to have some like nice firm chickpeas that we can then make crispy, and then the rest I'm going to put back into the pressure cooker. So what we're going to do is, these are already soaked chickpeas, and we soak them for digestibility reasons. I don't soak every single kind of bean, but absolutely the chickpeas. The chickpeas themselves, I'm actually only going to pressure cook for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and give them natural pressure release. So 15 minutes of high pressure, 10 minutes of natural pressure release, and then we'll check on the chickpeas. If they're a little bit too soft, then so be it. If it's the exact texture that we want for the firm chickpeas, we'll take those out, and then we'll put the rest of them back inside for another 10 minutes. Okay, because we're doing chickpeas 2 ways today. So let's go ahead and throw that into my pressure cooker. And this is, by the way, one of my favorite uses of a pressure cooker. A pressure cooker doesn't do everything. Right? I don't love sautéing in it, I don't love browning things in it, but my favorite use for a pressure cooker can and will always be for legumes. Also, new Tim, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you, that's very sweet of you. My favorite use of a pressure cooker will always be for, legumes and stocks. Okay, they make it a lot more faster, they make it a lot more accessible in a home setting. You can just do this in a regular pot. I don't know my times in a pot because I've already just been making it in a pressure cooker for so long. If you ever needed motivation to get a pressure cooker, this would absolutely be it. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this on high pressure for 15 minutes, and then we'll do 10 minutes of natural pressure release. I've seen in other hummus recipes, they place the cooked chickpeas in cold water. Will you do that, chef? So Just Crazy Cookie, they do that to get rid of the chickpea skins. We'll see how well the skins come off. The reason people get rid of the chickpea skins is because they make the hummus itself a little bit too gritty. If it's a little too gritty, it happens. It's just a part of life. I'm not looking for, some idealized, super ultra smooth chickpea hummus. I'm just looking for something really flavorful. Okay, but yeah, so what you can do is you can really overcook the chickpeas. That's a really, really nice step. Get them like super mushy, and that way like the skins do blend up a lot easier. And you also don't need to use a molcajete. You can just use a blender or a food processor. In fact, a molcajete, this specific Mexican molcajete is not a traditional use of it. So before I forget, let me go ahead and quickly just set it to 15 minutes. Not a lot of cook time. If you were doing these from completely unsoaked chickpeas, I would start with like 30 minutes of pressure cooking and then 10 minutes of natural pressure release. So yeah, again, I really, really like using my Instant Pot purely for like stocks and beans and that kind of thing, and like really like braises, but I don't use it for much else. Like it has like all these other settings on it. I think they're completely unnecessary. Okay. So that is now the chickpeas going. We're going to need them for 2 of the components today. Everybody, let's go ahead and move on throughout everything else that we'll need for today. So I've actually decided I'm not going to use the rest of this onion for the pickled onions. I'm actually just going to chop this up and saute this with the chickpeas themselves for the filling. Can you braise short ribs in an Instant Pot? You absolutely can. Now, I will say an Instant Pot doesn't do an amazing job of really thick pieces of meat because it makes the outside a little bit overcooked because of just how hot it is. So in some cases, I do prefer a traditional braise. It just makes it faster. Okay, so this onion I'm actually going to be utilizing for something else. In the meantime, guys, let's go ahead and get ready for the quick pickled onions. I love doing quick pickled onions at home. Why? Quick pickled onions, they can be used for a million different things. I put them on tacos, I put them on burritos, I put them on soups. I do absolutely anything and everything with them. I think it is imperative for most people at home just to have that supply of quick pickled onions. They bring such a beautiful acidity, they bring such a beautiful sweetness into just about everything that you do at home. So let's head over to my cutting board and let's start setting up my station. I'm going to go ahead and grab this red onion. I'm not going to need this entire super massive red onion, guys. This is a big boy. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut the head of it off. All right, we cut off the head of the red onion and we keep the root of it intact because we don't know what we'll use it for later on. And I'm just going to go ahead and slice this in half. And then half of this onion, I'm going to go ahead and set aside for a different use another day. No use for it at the moment. We don't really need this red onion. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw that into the fridge. In the meantime, I'm also going to go ahead and put my herbs into the fridge while I have a moment so that they don't spoil or anything. But yes, guys, really quickly, I do just want to mention something. This isn't like a proper pickle. Also, Green Fang, thank you for the 100 bits. This isn't like a pickle. And what I mean by like a pickle, it's not going to like last months and months. It's not canned. This is a quick pickle. Really, what we're doing is basically a marinated onion. We're doing a marinated onion, and it's still going to be delicious. It just can only last for like a couple of weeks in the fridge. So I just want to point that out as like a food safety thing. This is not to be confused with another kind of pickle. So let's think about the texture of the onions that you want. Typically, when you cut it perpendicular to the grain of the onion, you get a lot more of a pungent onion. So I like to cut them parallel instead. And I'm looking for really thin slices of onion. Because if our onion slices are a little bit too thick, not only are they a little bit too clunky to eat, right? But they won't actually properly marinate. So by marinating them, or rather, excuse me, by slicing them thin, we have a greater ratio of surface area to the onion itself. And that way they'll be able to really take on this marinade a lot better. Okay? A quick pickled Vidali and it turned pink. Yes, Tarina, that is because there was still a chemical reaction taking place. If you've ever done quick pickled garlic or something, you can see that it still turns pink. Guys, we don't need the core of this onion, or the root of it rather, so I'm also just going to go ahead and quickly slice that off. And now, the rest of the onion skin just easily peels off. I am going to give this, actually I don't think it needs an additional peel, does it? I'm going to give it one more additional peel because that outside skin can be a little bit too papery. Chef, what is my favorite breakfast if I have very little time? I love making huevos rancheros. That's what I made for breakfast today. I had my leftover tortillas, my leftover salsa from yesterday, and so I made some huevos rancheros. So that's such a good way of using up like old salsa and old tortillas. Okay, sorry I'm beating around the bush so much, guys. We're going to get to this in just a moment, I promise. Right now, what am I doing? I'm searching for a suitable container that can hold all of this sliced up onion. Okay, so the idea is we're going to basically boil together some vinegar and water and sugar, and we're going to go ahead and pour that over the onion. So guys, really quickly, we're going to go ahead, and you actually don't want these to be like paper thin, I've realized, because when they're paper thin, they kind of start to really taste and feel like boiled onions instead. Okay, so you're looking for whatever thickness this is. But again, it's not perfect. You don't have to be perfect with something like this, guys. And you don't have to use red onions. You can use any kind of allium that you would like for something like this. A red onion, they just happen to look really, really pretty. Chef, what is a good position to start professional cooking? So, this is a really good question. It depends entirely on what your intentions are. For me personally, the restaurant industry was not for me. I do not want to work in a restaurant because it's a lot of repetition, it's not a particularly creative endeavor, and it's a lot of work hours, and it's not particularly paid well either. So if that is your ambition, you have to know exactly what you're signing up for. And here's my piece of advice. Email a good restaurant and ask if you can work for them. Tell them that you're interested. Go out to eat somewhere nice and shoot them an email. Because you know why? If it's a good restaurant where the chef actually cares about what he's doing, he would want to mentor somebody. A lot of chefs are looking for a mentor. They're looking to impart knowledge. Any craftsman, any person who is an expert of their craft, I've gotten very, very far in life in a lot of different ways by simply emailing or sending a message to somebody saying, hey, I'm interested in this thing, and showing interest. Yeah. So you don't have to like go from it like a super professional perspective of, you make a resume and you go to culinary school. Literally email restaurants and chefs that you are a fan of, and you might get a reply back. I am not even kidding. Okay, so going ahead and just slicing up my red onion, guys. Not too thin and not too thick. And the reason we don't want these to be too thin is because that way they'll end up overcooking and we'll get like really mushy boiled onions. And we don't want them to be too thick because otherwise, the hot liquid that we're going to add to it is not really going to do anything. And now, once again, this is the beauty of using a bench scraper. We can go ahead and just pick all of this up. And you want this to all be like a nice tight fit in your container of choice. Okay? So all of it nicely and beautifully packed in there now. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and get some garlic in there as well. The way that you actually season your pickled onions, your quick pickled onions, is entirely up to you. This is where you get a lot of room for creativity. So for today, for instance, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from something like a kosher dill pickle. I'm going to be doing some dill in here, right? Now, you don't have to use dill. You can use basically anything that you want inside of this, and I promise you, it's still going to end up pretty delicious at the end of it. I'm just going to go ahead and tuck the dill in each side. This dill is a little bit older, so it's a really nice way of using it up. And this is where you get a lot of creativity with actually building the marinade. It just permeates all of the vinegar. It permeates the onions. The onions, I mean, I have to say, they just soak it up so well. So guys, I want you to be super, super creative with this process. I want you to think, what are the different kinds of things that you could end up squeezing in here? Okay, so for me, for instance, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing some of this dill, and you know what, guys? Maybe we do some mustard seeds. That could be pretty fun. What we're going to do is when we actually assemble the brine and we simmer it together, it'll be really nice. Okay, let's get some garlic in here as well. Couple cloves of garlic, guys. Szechuan peppercorns, maybe not Szechuan peppercorns, Serena. That could be a little funky in an unpleasant way. You took me quite literally there. I feel like Szechuan peppercorns in such a wet capacity, they actually release some off flavors. I much prefer fat infusions with Szechuan peppercorns instead of liquid. For example, when you're getting hot pot, Szechuan peppercorns, they're not actually dissolved into the broth itself. They're made with a separate seasoning oil. You make a separate seasoning oil with a bunch of different chilies, okay? And so, I don't really want to do that for that reason. I've actually noticed, like wet cooking applications over a long period of time, you get a lot of bitter and unpleasant flavors out of your Szechuan peppercorns. I hope that helps. Okay guys, once again, same idea. We're going to go ahead and give this a nice little smash. But yeah, not everything. Don't take me like super literally here. Of course, there's always going to be some exceptions. But in general, if you've ever seen it in a pickle, it would be probably good to go. Just think about like the spices that you typically see boiled, right? Some spices are meant to be fried, so I wouldn't like add cumin seeds into this, but some things do extract well into water. This is not actually something I'm as much of an expert on as I would like to be. So this would be a really nice, good point of growth for myself. Okay, guys, and I'm just going ahead and I'm tucking it in, and look at this beautiful little nest that we've made, huh? We've got the dill, we've got the garlic in there. And now, guess what? Just because I already have some out, I'm going to go ahead and do some bay leaves. I love doing chilies in here as well, whenever we do them. Chilies are always like a really, really nice, pleasant addition. I can't get the bay leaves out of the container. Oh my God, somebody save me. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful, guys? It's to me like these really, really simple things in cooking that are always just like the prettiest. Guys, I cannot, for the life of me, get any bay leaves out of this container. They're so tightly packed in. Okay, I think that should be more than enough at this stage. And we're going to just go ahead and tuck them in. It's not that easy, okay? Hey, my paws aren't even that big, all right? They're not big paws. And even then I was struggling with this a little bit, okay? All right. So, everybody, once again, I have dill, I have garlic, and I have onions here. Now, if you don't have dill, I don't want you to go out of your way to buy dill specifically to make quick pickled onions. The reason why I'm choosing dill is because I already had some at home. Everything about home cooking is using up things that you already have and using them to their fullest extent. I'm sure if you did parsley or cilantro, that would also be really, really delicious right there too. And these are all super cheap ingredients. Garlic and half an onion. How about black peppercorns? I love doing black peppercorns, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're now going to move on to actually building the brine, everybody. So, I have here a cute little saucepan, and we're going to start assembling the brine inside. All right, so here is the ratio that you want to remember. Everybody, are you listening? I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, from everybody watching. The ratio that we want to shoot for, and again, it's not a perfect ratio because this isn't actually like a can, right? We're not canning these pickles, we're not fermenting them. This is a marinated quick pickle. Because of the beauty of technology in refrigerators, we're able to keep it fresh even if we don't preserve a very specific salt or acidity or lacto-fermentation in there. So I'm doing a 1-to-1 ratio of vinegar to water, okay? That is the ratio that I've just sort of fallen upon that I really end up liking the most. And this is just basic white distilled vinegar. And again, if you're a little bit off, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And I'm gonna go ahead and get some just plain old water in there as well. 1-to-1 ratio, nice and easy. Maybe a little bit more if you want to account for evaporation or something, if you're weird like that. I'm not gonna do that because that's kind of cringe. You don't have to use a measuring cup, guys. By the way, in cooking, there is so little that actually ever needs to be precisely measured. So little of cooking ever needs to be precisely measured. The majority of cooking is just about understanding why you're doing what you're doing and ratios and intuitive feel. And for the most part, if we got like to the, exact gram, it wouldn't make any tangible difference whatsoever. Only in things like baking, sometimes, right? When it comes to leaveners, you need to be really exact. When it comes to a quick pickle, not a real pickle, you don't need to be exact. Now, if you're making real, like canned pickles or real lacto-fermented pickles, I want to hear yes, chef, right now. This is basic food safety. You need to follow that guide exactly in terms of the amount of acidity and salinity that you need. In that case, it is essential. I'm not trying to poison you. If we're making quick pickles, it does not matter because we're using a refrigerator. Okay, guys, now we're going to go in with a little bit of sugar. The sugar, I find, just makes the whole thing a little bit more pleasant. I typically like to avoid cooking with sugar, but I just do, 1 to 2 spoons, and it's very, very little at the end of the day. Okay? So 1 to 2 spoons of this bad boy, 1, maybe 1.5, and call it a day. I see some recipes, they go like as far as like saying like, oh, you need like a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of sugar. Guys, don't go too crazy with the sugar. There's already so much sugar present in the onions naturally, okay? I don't love actually having a lot of salt in my quick pickled onions. I've actually found that the thing I'm really looking for is the acidity and then some of the sweetness as well. But a little bit of salt just to really, really help balance it out. But the salt is not gonna be the predominant flavor in this. Okay, next, moving on, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of black peppercorns. This is one of the spices that I love using in something like this. And the reason we're putting it directly into this bath is because we want this spice to have a little bit of extra time to extract. The bay leaves, the dill, the garlic, that doesn't need any time to boil. It's just the black peppercorns. And now I'm also going to add some of the mustard seeds. So just going ahead and finding them wherever I may have them. I just have some yellow mustard seeds. And in fact, we might even just do, because I know I have some fennel seeds somewhere as well. Yeah, guys, what do you think? You want to do some fennel seeds in there too? I think that'll be really, really nice. Fennel seeds and coriander seeds. Let's go in all the way. Let's do coriander seeds, let's do fennel seeds, and let's do mustard seeds. Let's get a full flavored pickle. Normally I make mine like a little bit more on the bland side. Not today, baby. How much am I using? I don't really care. I'm just going in with a little pinch of it. I'm going in with a pinch of mustard seeds. Now, the coriander seeds, you definitely don't want too much. This one you can definitely get like too much of, and it gets like very, coriander forward, I find. Coriander seeds, mustard seeds, and then a few fennel seeds as well. They got like that delicious licoricey note to it. There we go. And that's gonna be my brine today. And guys, I'm just showing off all the different creativity that you can use. The reason that I've chosen these spices specifically is because in my experience in making stocks and making soups and making sauces, I know that these extract well into water. You wouldn't want to use something like Szechuan peppercorns. You might just want to look this up. Google will be your friend. Okay, so let's go on over to the stove. Lovely. And let's go ahead and bring this up to a boil. Now this step is essential. God, my camera just glitches out every single time, doesn't it? Wow, hilarious. Guys, this step is pretty essential that you do bring it up to a boil. The reason that you actually want this at a boil is because that way it's actually going to penetrate the onion itself. If you wanted to wait a week, you don't necessarily need to do that, right? But the heated water, it's really going to penetrate that onion super quickly, super easily. And it's also going to help for that sugar to nicely and evenly dissolve. Because this is a carbon steel knife, it will rust unless I go ahead and I rinse this off and dry it off thoroughly. Does anybody have any questions for me? This would be a really, really good time to ask me any and all cooking questions that you may have, because I'm here to teach you, that's you, buddy, I'm here to teach you how to cook. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clean that up really fast. Excellent. And my dill I'm also just going to go ahead and put away into the fridge to just keep the whole thing nice and fresh. But yeah, guys, today's stream might end up being a bit of a quicker one. I haven't actually made hummus in quite some time. I really, really want to do a lot more like different like Middle Eastern dishes, or at least Middle Eastern inspired dishes. And I just remember like a lot of the hummus fundamentals, and of course I love eating hummus. I love having hummus at home, right? You can make it a meal, you can make it a snack. Is there a carbon steel, stainless steel knife eye test? Yes, there is, Tarina, and I'm going to show that to you right now. It looks a little bit matte, and I'm going to show you exactly why, Tarina. 1 second. If we don't want to make jam out of fruits, how can we preserve them longer? Jack, you were asking me a very long question. I'll answer that in a second. Grimpy Coffee, welcome on in. Meowdy to you as well. Also, everybody, if you haven't already done so, please, please, please check out the Patreon. I would love to be able to do this cooking show full time. I would love to be able to upgrade and continue just really turning this into a full show. Any and all monetary help would be really, really appreciated. If you don't want to support the Patreon, you can also type in / tip or donate as well. All of that goes directly to me. Just wanted to put that out there. So I'm going to show you really quickly how to differentiate between, at least an old carbon steel knife versus a new stainless steel knife, right? So my carbon steel knife, it does look a little bit matte. It does. And that's because it is inevitable that a carbon steel knife develops a little something called a patina. A patina, no matter what, your carbon steel knife, you know what? Guys, really quickly, let's just do a very, very basic knife lesson. Who here knows the difference between carbon steel and stainless steel? I'm actually just curious like what everybody's base of knowledge is, because I've realized this is not something that I might have explained to all of you. You do? Great. I want to hear if there are some people in chat that don't know what the difference is. Carbon is harder, that is correct, Jack, but that's not the full picture. I'm going to teach you all. Yes, stainless won't rust. Stainless steel will not rust because of a little something called chromium in it. Stainless steel also has about the same amount of carbon, but the chromium inside of the stainless steel prevents it from rusting, or rather it has a higher concentration of it. You typically see a gradient of different alloys that have more or less amounts of chromium. Carbon steel has very little to no amount of chromium whatsoever. And so, the benefit of carbon steel, you might be like, okay, why do I want this if I can't, leave it by itself, if I can't leave it soaking in water? These things, they retain an edge so much better than stainless steel knives. Stainless steel knives, because of the addition of the chromium, they tend to be softer. And softer metal has both advantages and disadvantages. Softer metal is easy to resharpen, but softer metal gets dull faster. Carbon steel knives are generally harder, which means they hold on to that edge longer, but it comes with the drawback of you need to be able to wipe it down. So this is not a beginner knife. If you're getting just into cooking, I do not recommend this being your first knife. However, if you've been cooking for a year, guys, I promise you, a carbon steel knife, it just cuts different. It is just different. It is just not the same. I love carbon steel knives, and over time they develop a little something called a patina. It's basically rusting on a very, very small, teeny tiny level, okay? So everybody, oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is, huh? I have a nice still shot now, so you can still hear me theoretically, but I'm just maybe stealing this in case I want to use it for a thumbnail. My brine is now boiling. You don't have to stir this, you don't have to do anything. We're just letting it go for a second to let the mustard seeds, the black peppercorn, and the coriander and fennel to extract. The reason, again, we needed to bring this up into a boil is because if we did not do so, the marinade, the vinegar in the water, the quick pickle solution would not have actually fully penetrated the onions. By bringing it up to a boil, we're basically half cooking it and it's going to immediately penetrate it. Okay, so that's brought up to a boil now. It's looking wonderful at the moment. I'm going to just go ahead and get this onto a nice little plate. Okay, excellent. And we're just going to go ahead and pour all of that solution in. Once again, it's just a 1-to-1 ratio. There is no exact amount of volume, 1-to-1 ratio of vinegar to water. I use about a cup of each. I have a little bit of sugar, I have a little bit of salt, and I have some mustard seeds and fennel seeds and coriander seeds and black peppercorn for the aroma. And inside of my plate, inside of my bowl, is my sliced up red onions, is my garlic, and my dill. Okay, so the sugar is going to help make the whole thing nice and sweet. The dill and the bay leaves are going to make it aromatic. The garlic is going to make the whole thing really, really beautifully pungent, guys. Let's go ahead and take a quick little look at my pickling solution. So one really, really huge mistake that you don't want to make right now, by the way, you never want to put boiling hot, chat, I want to hear a nice yes, chef, right now. This might seem obvious to some of you that have been cooking longer, but this is an important bit of newbie material. Okay, if you're a little bit newer to cooking, or even if you've been cooking for a while, do not put hot things into your home refrigerator. It's very bad for your refrigerator environment, and you'll end up heating up the entire environment. Additionally, if we immediately put a lid on this, it's going to end up steaming and creating a lot of pressure in there. You never want to add anything that's not, if it's boiling hot, as this was, you do not want this to go into your refrigerator. A nice rule is you just want something to stop steaming. So you see how it's steaming right now? We need to let this basically cool down, right? It can break, absolutely. That thermal shock, that's right, Jack, because we put this into a glass container. If we immediately went from boiling water into the cold fridge, we can end up destroying the glass or the ceramic, depending on how heat resistant it is. Okay, so we're never going from boiling to immediately cold. So all that we're going to do, guys, is we're just pressing it down, and you can see, just because of how nicely packed it is, everything is beautifully submerged. Look at this quick pickle. Isn't this beautiful? Cooking at home is so fun. You get to feel like you're making potions. This is what we're doing, guys. We're making like a little potion. We're making this concoction. And you get to basically add anything that you want, minus the Sichuan peppercorns. You get so much creativity. You get so much room to actually play with when it comes to things like this. So all I'm going to do, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and put it back behind me. And yes, this especially goes for pots of stew. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just slap this bad boy on behind me. Excellent. And we're just letting that saucepan cool off before I throw it into the dishwasher. And so that's going to be one of the key components for the sandwich. At the moment, the chickpeas, they have about 8 minutes of pressure cooking left. We're doing a natural pressure release. That's when we don't immediately release the pressure, but we let it go on its own. The reason we do that is because when it's pressure cooking, so you need to understand how a pressure cooker works. In a high pressure environment, okay, water can boil at a higher temperature, normally at 100 degrees Celsius. So guys, little science lesson. Normally at 100 degrees Celsius, water begins evaporating, right? Even though water technically does evaporate sooner because you still have water molecules that do reach 100 degrees Celsius. At 100 degrees Celsius, the water is boiling. In a high pressure environment, you're actually able to increase the boiling point of the water itself. So you're actually able to get water that is superheated. You're able to get water that exceeds 100 degrees Celsius. I don't know the exact temperature. And as a result, by cooking it in such a hot environment where it's normally not physically possible, okay, things in it cook a lot faster. Now, the reason we go for a natural pressure release as well is we're basically going from a super boil to a regular boil. And by decreasing the temperature like that, we allow the inside of it to cook through without the outside overcooking. Okay? If we just did a high pressure cook for 25 minutes, it would be fine, but we would risk the outside of the food that we're cooking to be overcooked by the time that the inside is done. Okay, does everybody understand? I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef. Does everybody understand how a pressure cooker, functions? You need to understand how your tools work and why they work and why they do what they do. Now, this doesn't mean that a pressure cooker is better than traditional cooking methods like a braise. In fact, they just do two different things. The functionality of a pressure cooker is that it makes things a lot faster and a lot easier to do. And the texture of it is just different. But if I'm on my own and I'm not doing a cooking stream, I actually prefer to braise in my Dutch oven. Because when we have a lower temperature like that, we get to gently cook it instead of just absolutely destroying the exterior of it. Okay? So, little recap. We have the chickpeas going. We have the quick pickle done. I'm going to go ahead and have a little sip of water. Let's have another one of those bad boys. Excellent. So, everybody, here's what we need to do. The other components for the sandwich are going to be, of course, building the hummus itself. And so in order to build the hummus, we're going to need some garlic, we're going to need some lemon, we're going to need some salt, some tahini, and of course the cooked, chickpeas. For the crispy chickpeas, we're going to need some herbs, we're going to need some spices, we're going to make some ground up spices, and it's going to be really delicious. And so we're going to be doing something interesting with the chickpeas. We're actually going to be microwaving them. And I know some of you might be like, what is going on here? What does that mean? We're going to be microwaving the chickpeas. The reason we microwave them is because it actually gets the outside of it perfect for like sautéing and getting crispy. This is a technique that I first learned about on America's Test Kitchen when they were doing some crispy chickpeas, and it is something that I've done a couple of times since. You can do this from canned chickpeas, you can do this from pressure cooked chickpeas, but by microwaving them first, and then we're going to be sauteing them properly, we actually get a very, very beautiful crispy texture on it. So, a microwave, guys, I'm not trying to be David Chang here. I don't like David Chang very much. I don't like how much he sells his, products and cooks with absolutely reckless abandon and no care whatsoever. However, if there is something that he is right about, he is actively normalizing the usage of a microwave in a little bit more, he's just making it seem less pedestrian to a lot of people, right? A lot of people, they have a really nasty misconception about the microwave and what it does. And microwaves, they do a really, really good job of drying out chickpeas properly so that we can then get them nice and crispy instead of doing it in the oven. A microwave has its usage and it has its place in the kitchen. Okay, it's not just about reheating things, it is a tool and it is not good or bad. Okay, if you're just reheating things in it over and over and you're just going to dry them out, whatever. But we're actually going to be just using it to its full effect. So does everybody understand? I'm here to dispel a little bit of microwave stigma. I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef. Please and thank you. Okay, so for the actual crispy chickpeas, we're going to want to go ahead and saute the chickpeas a little bit. We want to chop up some onions. We want to get our spices ready for it because I want some really nice spicy chickpeas. So let's go ahead and go into this now, guys. Let's go on over to my cutting board, already all set up and ready to go for us today. Okay, I have this 1/4 of an onion for the chickpeas. Guys, the amount of onion I am using, it is purely because I had this 1/4 of an onion left over and I wanted to use this up. Okay, I'm just going to glove up because my eczema is a little bad today. I also burnt myself when I was cooking earlier, so I want to keep myself nice and safe. And so, what am I looking for out of this onion? I'm not looking for massive pieces. I'm looking for something that is roughly 1/2 or 1/4 of the size as the chickpeas once they're done cooking. I want the onion to become an aromatic component. Okay, I want it to become an aromatic component of the cooked crispy chickpeas. I don't want it to be you know, the main feature or anything. So I'm just using a quarter of this onion. And guys, all I'm going to do, we're going to go in, and it's attached by the root, as you see. We're going to go in, and we're going to make some parallel incisions into the onion itself, so that we once again get our beautiful onion fan. But we're still keeping it attached by the root. It's an incision because we don't cut all the way through to the end. Okay, so now we just go in, and we go ahead and we get a nice small dice. You don't need a fine dice. I'm not looking for this onion to melt in or anything, but I'm looking for a nice small dice so that it still sautés beautifully. The finer you chop it, the more generally difficult it has a time browning. And so we're not looking for like a super finely minced onion, okay? We're just looking for a nice small dice here. So I'm just going through all of this. Lovely, beautiful, excellent. And a nice way to use up an old onion as well. And now we're going to go through here, and you see we have like some elongated pieces or so. It's fine, guys. It's an onion. It's still going to cook down. This step does not have to be perfect by any means, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and take a nice little bowl for these bad boys. Actually, I should have one right here, theoretically speaking. And we're going to saute them, and they're going to get really, really nice and sweet and delicious for us today, okay? Beautiful. Okay. That's the onion. Excellent. Let's just get that all off of it. I'm going to go ahead and set that bad boy behind me. The next thing that I want to do, I have this one teeny tiny chili. I just have it left over. This was my last bird's eye chili. I want a little bit of heat in my chickpeas as well. So I'm going to go ahead and slice off the head, and we're going to keep as many of these seeds as possible. And the reason we're keeping these seeds is because we want that heat inside of the chickpeas themselves. We're not going to feel it too much. We're going to get some red pepper in there as well, which are just this, right? Red pepper flakes are actually just the dried seeds themselves, right? And so we just want these like nicely and finely sliced up so that they're able to evenly get all the way around the chickpeas, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and throw this into my bowl as well for the moment. Beautiful. Right, so that's my chili. And now, the next step that we are going to need is we're going to need a touch of garlic. Because guys, you cannot have Middle Eastern cooking without garlic. You gotta have garlic, you gotta have olive oil. These are essential components. And I'm going to do about something like, I don't know, maybe 3 cloves of garlic, 4. I like having a lot of garlic. So that's my pressure cooker beeping, excuse me. It's now about to undergo natural pressure release. So it's going to slowly but surely release the pressure, but we're not flipping the button on it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it from yelling at me, because you got to cut it out, buddy. Stop it. And then I'm just setting a timer for 10 minutes. Set a timer for 10 minutes, and then we're going to inspect the texture of it and see how it actually ended up coming out, okay? And as always, guys, when you cook, you want to have a waste bowl. You want to have a bowl of scraps, because the last thing that you want to do is constantly jump from here to the trash can, here to the trash can. It gets cumbersome, it gets exhausting. You're just wasting your time at that point, okay? We're not going to need all of these garlic cloves immediately. I'm just going to use 3, and then the rest of these are going to go into the hummus themselves, okay? Just go ahead and put that bad boy behind me as well. And guys, once again, I'm going to be using my garlic press for this today, which I neglected to actually take out beforehand. The reason we're using a garlic press is because chopping garlic on a cutting board, it is sticky, it is unpleasant, it gets all over the place. It is not my favorite endeavor at all. Okay, so really quickly, just gotta check on something. Boop. Let me just restart that really quick. Lovely. But yeah, guys, I hate slicing, I hate chopping garlic on a cutting board. It gets really, really sticky. It gets very unpleasant. So all we're going to do, we're going to smash them once again using the bench scraper. And this is once again just to purely peel the skins off. The reason we only need so many garlic cloves is because we're putting them through a garlic press. So they're going to get really, really pungent this way. They're going to get a lot of flavor that way, okay? Really, really intense. So just go ahead, and now we can pluck off all of these skins. There you go. Off they all come. Some of them a little bit easier than others. Yeah, no. Audio Murphy, having bowls, everybody needs a big collection of bowls at home. You have to have a lot of bowls when you're cooking. I go through them like nobody else. Just makes your life so much easier. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly trim off the butts of every single garlic clove here. Okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because they're a little dried off, they're a little bit unpleasant. Just get rid of them Bowls, Jack. Get it together, Jack. Okay. So, once again, I also love having these condiment cups because they just like hold a very nice, like small amount of stuff. This was one of the best gifts I've ever gotten, courtesy of my mom. Thank you. I use these things all the time to just keep myself organized, to just get everything nicely and beautifully collected. I love these things to death. Does anybody have any questions? It doesn't have to just be about cooking. Also, is there anybody who's, this is their first time tuning in? And I would love to know from, how you found the stream. Are they like 8 ounces, Turina chess? I have no clue what the measurements of these things are. They just are great because they keep me really, really nice and organized. I get to put anything I want in them. You can even serve stuff in them. We got like a little sauce or something. They're great to have. Everybody should own at least a few of these. Okay, and I'm going to just use my knife here just to go ahead and just scoop all of that out. Let's go ahead and put this through my garlic press one last time. Make sure that no garlic goes unpressed. There you go. Cleaned it up that time around. Does anybody have any questions about this cooking process so far? We'll do a little recap in a second once we're done with this amount of prep work. And I'm just going ahead and I'm rinsing my garlic press and I'm poking it out with a brush, because if you don't do that, then the garlic dries and then it becomes really, really difficult and annoying to clean later on. The food to know questions haven't been answered. Okay, Jack, would you mind repeating that question for me? That'd be very, very helpful. Okay, we no longer need this knife. It has done its job for us. Everybody, please say thank you to Mr. Steak Knife. I think that's just a steak knife. I'm gonna go ahead and set this garlic behind me. And now we have to think about what kind of spices do we actually want going into the chickpeas today. And here's my answer for you. I want some cumin. I want some cumin seeds. And I actually realized I don't think I want oregano. I've had oregano in a million different things lately. We're also gonna get some coriander seeds in there as well. Guys, we grind whole spices on the stream. I never use pre-ground spices anymore, because whole spices, encased in their shell, encased in that seed, they hold onto the flavor a lot longer. When you have pre-ground spices, you take them and you do something that I like to call destructive prep. Okay, when you have destructive prep, they lose flavor or they lose their texture, or there is something about them that gets lost over time. When it comes to spices, when it just reacts to oxygen and light over time, they will end up inevitably losing some amount of flavor. And by having them protected within the seed, okay, you're holding on to a lot more flavor as a result. Are oats over or underrated? Jack, I feel like I don't eat oats, so I'm not really a good source to answer here. And so, by having these whole spices and then we're grinding them up to order, essentially, we get a lot more warm, fresh flavor out of them. And we just need less spices. So, chat, I want to hear the nice resigning guest chef. Please get into the habit of using whole spices if you can. You can use a spice grinder, you can use a mortar and pestle, okay? That'll be my recommended tools. If you don't do it, you don't have to, right? I'm not gonna like kill you over it or anything, but I will be a little upset. I wanna just make sure that you're all listening. I wanna make sure that you're all paying attention. And then guys, we're just going to go ahead and do some coriander seeds. Not too many, I don't like having too many coriander seeds or anything. Okay, coriander seeds, I actually find they do get a little bit like overpowering at some point. And then for the last little teeny tiny bit of heat or so, I can probably just add this directly in with these chilies, because this is essentially the same thing. I have some crushed red pepper. All I'm going to do, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and get, a little spoon of it in, because I'm looking for some really, really nice, delicious, spicy chickpeas today. Okay. So just all that going in. I don't know, that was like a teaspoon of this. That might be a lot, that might not be enough. I guess we'll find out. And then we're going to go ahead and grind this up. I'm actually not going to grind this up in my molcajete today. I'm just going to be using my regular mortar and pestle. And the reason for that is because I feel like I'm going to just end up getting a lot of the spices trapped inside of it, because it's a little too coarse. Or maybe not. Maybe I just used in the molcajete. Chat, what do you think? You think I should start doing a molcajete for this? To grind up this amount of spices? I want to hear yes, chef, if you think I should. I'm probably just going to do it. Lovely. Okay, so we're not going to use I have like a stone mortar and pestle that I used to like smash things. We're going to see how my big molcajete actually ends up performing today. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my paper towel and my cutting board because we don't have any use for it at the moment. And now guys, I'm going to go ahead and get my molcajete station all set up. Okay, and so you really want to make sure for your molcajete that you have a towel under it because it's going to otherwise scratch your table. If you don't care about your table getting scratched, then by all means do whatever it is that you wish to do. I'm going to just go ahead and go in there with my cumin seeds and my coriander seeds. Hello Oscorp, welcome on in. Yeah, we're doing an emergency Thursday stream today. And so guys, all I'm going to do, we're going to just first smash all of the seeds so they don't jump out of the container or anything. Oh my God, that was the fastest I've ever seen a molcajete go at it before. Wait, that was like it, but how do I actually get it out of there is gonna be the question. For this amount of spices, they're like actually doing what I thought they would do, which is they're plugging up the holes. Uh-oh. We'll see if we can scrape them out. I think we'll be able to successfully though. But that immediately, did you see how quickly that processed those spices? Guys, that was like instantaneous. Do you remember how much effort we put in to the other mortar and pestle? What? I think everybody's sleeping, Audio Murphy. I don't know what's going on. Nobody wants to talk with me today. Nobody wants to keep me entertained. It's fine. I'm not upset. Okay, so that's cool. But there is one unintended consequence, which is that a lot of the spices are actually stuck in there. If I had a brush, no, it's not pushing in so hard, Audio Murphy. It's inevitably going to get stuck in there to some extent. What you need is a brush. You need like a brush. There's like a wooden brush. I forgot what it's called. I might actually just throw it up on my wish list. Exclamation mark wish list. Hint, hint. Let's just go ahead and get the majority of it out of there. If we end up, this is still going to just go back into the hummus today. So it's fine, right? Coriander and cumin, it's all going to be like very pleasant taste in there. But yeah, there is basically, getting this out of here is a bit of a challenge. What a lot of families do, they have different sized molcajetes so that you're not in the position that I am in, which is, having to find a way to get a little amount of spices, volumetrically speaking, into this container. Yeah, it's just not easy to scoop this stuff up. It's just not happening. We ended up probably losing a lot, which was what I was afraid of happening. Yeah, I need to get the brush. I need to get the molcajete brush. There is a dedicated brush that you can get for these things that a lot of people love using. Okay, we got the majority of it out. I think that'll be just fine then. That'll be more than okay. And guys, by the way, while we were doing that, the chickpeas have officially finished cooking. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a little look at those. Can I please get a yes, chef, from everybody watching? Okay. I'm just using my hands at this point to basically brush it off. Hello, Sniper. Welcome. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. We're about to do a little recap session for anybody that might just now be tuning in. We'll talk about everything, what we're doing and why we're doing it today. So this is my ground up cumin and coriander seeds. I'm going to go ahead and put that behind me. The rest of it, I suppose, will just end up in the hummus itself, which I have no issue with actually at all. I think that'll be still more than fine. And we're going to go ahead and talk about our chickpeas in just a moment, guys. I'm just going to take a second to clean up. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? We're about to do a recap session. We're about to talk about everything that we're doing today. Okay? And I'm about to release the chickpeas from the pressure cooker. So let me go ahead and hit that switch now properly. Lovely. So everybody, today we are doing our first vegan dish. We've done a lot of vegetarian dishes, and I didn't necessarily go into it with the intention of this being vegan, but we're doing a vegan dish today. We're making hummus chickpea sandwiches, and we're doing everything from scratch. So in my pressure cooker at the moment, I had some chickpeas with some onion, with some garlic, and some bay leaves. I had it cooked down. We're going to take out roughly half of those chickpeas, and we're going to get them really nice and crispy. I'm going to be doing the America's Test Kitchen microwave method. You can go ahead and look it up if you don't believe me. Microwaves are a really beautiful tool in the kitchen that have their place. The rest of the chickpeas, we're going to inspect the texture, and then we're going to put them back into the pressure cooker because the goal is to get them mushy enough that we can make a beautiful hummus. And the reason why I really wanted to do a hummus today was, first of all, my mom asked for a hummus. She wanted to make hummus, and I told her, no, I'm going to do it better. And thus, I recommended that I do the hummus instead for my stream today. The hummus we're actually going to be doing in my molcajete, in my Mexican mortar and pestle that is made out of really, really coarse volcanic stone. We're going to get a very, very beautiful consistency out of it. We're going to be using lemon juice and garlic and some tahini for the nuttiness as well. We're going to have these delicious spiced chickpeas, and I have a bunch of herbs in my fridge that I wanted to get rid of. I had parsley, I have dill, I have coriander, and so I just wanted this dish also as an excuse to use those up, because in a home kitchen, you really, really do end up running into having an excess of fresh herbs if you really like buying it. And so my intention was I wanted to show off all the different ways that you can use it. And then guys, additionally, I would love for you to see these quick pickled onions that we have made. They have officially stopped steaming, and we're gonna go ahead and put these into the fridge. Look at that beautiful medley of onions. Guys, you could do this with any kind of allium that you would like. Red onions, they make it very nice and pretty, but you can use sweet onions, Vidalia onions, whatever kind of onions. Quick pickled onions are amazing to have at home. They bring a lovely acidity and a lovely sweetness and whatever other kinds of flavors into whatever dish that you're doing. For today, for instance, they're going to be going directly into the sandwich. They're going to give the whole thing a really nice crunch. They're going to give it good texture, and they're going to give it amazing flavor. I love having pickled onions to put on top of soups, to put on tacos, to put in salads. Quick pickled onions, guys, get into the habit of it. It was vinegar, water, and then we spiced it up today. We had some really nice spices. I had some fennel seeds, I had some coriander seeds, some black pepper seeds, or not black pepper seeds, black peppercorn, excuse me, as well as some mustard seeds as well. I had some leftover old dill that I wanted to use up, so it went inside. And now, after we boiled it, we brought it together, we added some sugar to it as well. The only thing I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and slap a lid on it because it has stopped steaming, and I can go ahead and throw this whole thing into the fridge. But I'm going to keep this vent open because my lids have those, so that it releases steam and doesn't just like bottle up inside or anything. And these quick pickled onions, they're not like a full proper pickle. They can last in your fridge for at least a couple of weeks. And they're really, really nice. They're just excellent to have. They're more marinated than actually pickled or anything. And now, I'm just going to go ahead and get my cutting board set up, and we are going to do a little chickpea inspection. So here's what I'm looking for, guys. I'm looking for, oh God, chickpea inspection day. Don't worry about it. We're going to be checking for the chickpeas to be firm enough that we can make crispy chickpeas with, and then we're going to put the rest of it back into the pressure cooker, and we're going to get them really nice and tender with which to make a beautiful hummus. So let's go ahead and show you these beans, my garbanzo beans, my chickpeas. And guys, please, please, please get into the habit of working from dried chickpeas, from dried legumes in your home kitchen. I promise you, it makes a world of a difference. You get to have an incredible control of the texture that way. So this is my gorgeous pot of chickpeas, guys. Look at that thing, huh? Look at it go. Ooh, let me see if I can actually adjust that really quickly. That should be okay. Guys, these are my chickpeas. The beauty of dried chickpeas versus canned ones is that you get to control the texture in addition to the money that you're saving. Canned chickpeas, sometimes they're a little too mushy, sometimes they're a little bit too firm. You have no idea what it's going to be like until you open them. These chickpeas were soaked for digestibility reasons, and then we cooked these on high pressure for 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, excuse me, and then we did a natural pressure release for another 10 minutes. Okay, and so what am I looking to do now? I'm going to fish some out. I'm going to feel the texture of it. If I feel like they're done enough with the crispy chickpeas, I'm going to take some out and put the rest back in. So let's go ahead and pick some up. Let's drain off some of that water, right? And I'm going to just give that a second to just cool off properly. And also, if you don't have this, this is called a spider. Everybody, you should own a spider at home. This is something that is now only recently starting to enter the Western home kitchen setting. Spiders are basically strainers on a stick. They're really, really lovely. Chef, do you ever just munch on dried chickpeas? On dried raw chickpeas? No. This is great. That's actually the perfect texture for the crispy chickpeas today. Impeccable. That is actually perfect. They're really, really nice. They're creamy, but they're not falling apart. They're not mushy. The skins aren't coming off yet. Oh, guys, that is delicious. I'm telling you, homemade legumes every single day of the week. I know people say, oh, you know, canned chickpeas are so easy. They are easy, but they're just a different product. Making them yourself is so much better, guys. I promise you. I promise you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set up a little strainer over a bowl, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of some of the liquid. We want these chickpeas to basically steam dry. Okay? That's what we're looking for them to do. We're going to put them in, we're going to get rid of the excess water. Between us, chef, who is the worst chef on the internet? That's not between us. I would be immediately exposing myself. How would that be between us, chef? I don't think it works like that. Jack is trying to get me canceled. Jack is trying to get me, like, attacked by somebody else. Okay, guys, so all I'm going to do, I'm going to reserve a set amount of chickpeas. And again, this amount of chickpeas, this is what's going to be used for the crispy chickpeas that we're doing for today. And then the rest of it is going to be used for the hummus. Or we can reserve it and do whatever else we want with it. So I'm grabbing the spider, I'm using it to just scoop it up, and then the strainer is going to take care of the rest of the liquid. 1, 2, and then let's do one more scoop. And I think that should be good. Lovely. There we go. And these bad boys, we're just going to leave them to strain and steam dry. This is all that we need for the crispy chickpeas today. Does everybody understand? I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef. Please and thank you right now. So the rest of these chickpeas, I'm going back into the pressure cooker, guys. It's going back inside, and I'm putting them back in for another at least 5 minutes of cooking. Cooking at high pressure. Okay, I think that has a nice seal on it, I think. It's kind of awkward when it's hot. Pressure cook, high, and I'm putting it in there for about 5 minutes, and then we'll do 10 minutes of natural pressure release after it's cooked. And these bad boys, once again, we're just letting these things drain off, and we're letting them steam dry. So you see all of that steam that's coming off of them, that's naturally getting rid of some of that excess moisture that would otherwise prevent these chickpeas from getting crispy. And so to get them crispy today, we're going to be doing the America's Test Kitchen method of first putting them in the microwave, and then we'll be sauteing them in some olive oil. Guys, you have to be cooking with olive oil when you're making Middle Eastern or Mediterranean food. You absolutely just have to. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? We're going to be doing the rest of the prep that we actually need for the hummus today. And then, you know, we'll just get to it. It's going to be great. I'm excited about it. It's going to be really, really lovely. And this sandwich, guys, it's going to be an incredibly balanced sandwich. The reason why you see chickpeas so much in vegetarian and vegan cooking is because chickpeas are so versatile, right? You can treat them basically as a starch. You can treat them as a protein. There is so much that they can actually do. They can become a really beautiful creamy hummus as well. Okay, chickpeas are incredibly versatile, and I always recommend that you at least have a pack of dried chickpeas at home at any given moment. And so here's what else we need to do. We're gonna let those steam dry. We gotta go ahead and slice up some of the herbs. What about if we're out of extra virgin olive oil? Maybe toasted sesame oil to green a chest, but you're just looking for a tasty, delicious oil. You're looking for an oil that is so good that you wanna eat it raw. And to me, very few of them ever do that for me besides extra virgin olive oil tuna. So we have to slice up the herbs. We have to get the stuff ready to actually then make the hummus itself. Okay, so we need to grind up the lemon. We need to grind up the garlic together. It's gonna be great. So everybody, let's go ahead and do it now. Let's get started. I think I'm gonna just show you everything just so that you can see. And the sandwich today, it's going to be incredibly composed. This is basically chickpeas two ways. We're getting the meatiness out of the chickpea by getting it really nice and crispy, and then we're getting the creaminess out of it by doing the hummus with it as well. We have like the nice bread. We're going to have, of course, you know, the freshness from the herbs, the acidity from the onions. This is going to be an incredible, incredible sandwich today, guys. So here's what else we need to do. It is time for us to slice some herbs. And this was a lot of the inspiration for today's dish. I had a lot of these extra herbs in my fridge. I have parsley, I have coriander, and I have dill. Will all of these be traditionally featured in all of Middle Eastern cooking? No, but I'm using what I have, and I'm making it authentic for my home kitchen. So, some of this is going to be completely raw, and some of this is going to be completely cooked. I want that contrast. I want some of that cooked herbs, and then I want some of the raw herbs as well. Okay, so we're doing about this much cilantro. There you go. And again, it's not exact at all. Feel free to use as much or as little as you would like. I'm going to now grab a very generous bundle of parsley as well. Maybe too generous, actually. Let's put it back in. Too generous, too generous. Go back, go back, go back. Throw these bad boys back into my fridge. And then the dill we're going to do separately because the dill we're going to slice it differently than these two. First thing that we're going to do though for both of these, guys, I hate the texture of the stems. People say that the stems, they have a lot of flavor. I personally do not like the stems of my fresh herbs because they tend to be a little bit woody and a little bit fibrous. And also, Jack, here's the thing, I disagree. I disagree with you, and I'm gonna tell you why I disagree. Or rather, I don't disagree with your premise. I actually do not believe that there have to be an agree to disagree process with really close friends. Something that I do with all of my close friends. When we are ideologically opposed to somebody, we will either convince each other of that position, right? We'll either convince each other of that position, or we will come up with some sort of a different third solution. Very rarely will I ever say that, okay, let's just agree to disagree about something, because to me, that means that both people have decided to stop thinking. And so in relationships where I want to put in a lot of effort, I don't want there to be points of conflict. And if both people truly believe that they are right, I love having strong discussions with people. And so, if people just have an opinion and they don't justify it, those are not the kinds of people that I keep very, very close in my life. I love a lot of strong opinioned people, right? Or at least theoretically I do. So, I hope that answers your question, Jack. Cilantro dried as coriander, fight me, I'll let you win. It's not. That's just not true, Audiomurthy. Cilantro and coriander are interchangeable names used by different cultures for the same herb. But typically in cooking, you do see coriander often be referred to as coriander seeds or coriander powder. Although I would just say that that is a little bit incorrect. It is just, I would just say cilantro seeds or coriander seeds, they're just interchangeable. They're just actually the same thing, just in different cultural contexts. So sometimes I call it coriander, sometimes I call it cilantro. If I'm making, it does not matter. It's, tomato, right? Okay, guys, once again, I'm going through all of these herbs. I'm plucking off the leaves. I'm getting rid of all those big stems because, again, I hate the texture of these stems because they're not going to be pureed. They're not going to be blended down or anything. They're just going to be sliced up and barely cooked through, okay? So as a result, I don't want too many of them. All right. There you go. Going ahead and putting it in. Lovely. And guys, that's it. That's all the pressure oh wait, actually, it just built up pressure, excuse me. So all we're doing is we're bringing it up to pressure, the chickpeas that is, and we're going to let it cook on high pressure for 5 minutes, and then we'll let it naturally pressure release until we actually need to use it. So we're going to be nice and patient with this process. Guys, today's a very chill stream, isn't it? Today's stream is really, really easy. We're just breezing through everything that we needed to get done, and I'm okay with that. I'm personally totally okay with that today. Okay, going through all of this, nice and easy. Guys, I love having fresh herbs in the kitchen. There's just so much use that you get out of it. It just does so much for you. You can use the stems for an oil, exactly, Raptorify. So that's a really good idea. Also, you can use them in stocks and soups for like the last 5 to 10 minutes and then pull them out. That's a really nice way to use them. Honestly, I just also throw them away. So you can do that. You can compost them. You can do whatever you want. Although, at some point or another, I would love to get into composting. So going ahead, guys, we're almost done plucking all the herbs. I apologize for how repetitive of a process this does seem to be. Again, some people, they leave them in. I don't love them in raw applications. Okay, guys, I'm going to tell you something right now that I hate. This is a cooking opinion of mine that I hold very, very strongly. Let me tell you something right now. I do not love completely unprocessed, aka unsliced or unmodified, raw herbs on top of something. What I see people sometimes do as a garnish, they take a bunch of leaves and they put it on top of something. I actually hate doing that. The reason for me is because I actually find the texture of completely unsliced herbs to be a little too papery for my tastes. When they're uncooked, when it's just raw herbs, I find them to be too papery, so I like to slice them. Now, everybody, what do we say about slicing herbs? We don't chop things, we slice things. We use the full length of the knife. We don't chop it and cleave it like an axe. When you chop, you end up crushing cells and you end up oxidizing and destroying the texture of your beautiful herbs. When we slice it, we're a lot more delicate. We're destroying less cells and the herbs stay a lot fresher for longer. A really nice way, if your technique is good, you will tell that the bottom of your cutting board doesn't seem wet, that the herbs aren't sticking. You will see that the herbs don't turn dark green or like too brown or anything, but they'll retain their own natural color. So, Here's what we got to do, guys. We're going to take this big bundle of herbs, and we're going to go ahead and roll it up in our hands, and we're going to hold it like a baby bird. We're not going to be holding it so firmly that we're crushing the baby bird, but we're not going to be holding it so gently that it flies away. Okay, so there's a very nice balance here. As always, this has become my favorite line. One day there will be Daramgar bird merchandise. And we're going to hold it in our hands, and we're going to roll it up really, really nicely, and we're going to then just put it down onto the cutting board, like so, and we're going to hold it down and continue to make sure that it doesn't fly away, guys. And then you're going to, ooh, this is a lot of herbs this time. It is flying away slightly. And now, guys, you're going to take your cute little baby bird, and you're going to do exactly what he needs, which is to give him a nice, thin slice. And you can see, I'm not chopping, I'm not vertical motion. I'm using as little vertical force as possible with a beautifully sharp knife. If your knife can't do this, you need to sharpen your knives. It is not an option. Okay, guys, we're just taking it, and we're just taking it, and we're taking it, and we're slicing, and we're slicing, and we're using the fullest length of the knife humanly possible. And we're taking it, and we're taking it, and we're slicing, and we're slicing, and we're slicing, and we're slicing. We never chop things in this household. Chat, do we chop things? Do we chop our fine herbs? We do not. Not in the slightest. And then I have some herbs that didn't end up getting passed through the first time around. We're going to go ahead and make sure that they're getting some of this knife action too, guys. Just go back through them all. Especially the parsley. I hate the texture of like completely raw leaves of parsley. I like them sliced up a little bit. Okay, and guys, all we're going to do is we're going to take this whole stack and we're going to give that a nice 90-degree turn or so, because I'm looking for an even finer slice than this. Okay. Some of these aren't actually fully catching because I have a really huge pile. I should have probably done this in 2 batches, but that's okay. Slice it and slice it and slice it and slice it and slice it, just like so, guys. Nice and gently, nice and delicately. And you know how gentle I'm being, guys. I'm going to show you exactly how gentle I'm being with these herbs. You know why you can tell? Take a look. Is my cutting board wet? Is it sticking? Absolutely not. That was just the residual moisture from them. They're not sticking. They're nice and freshly green. Also, Ellen from now on, welcome on in. Hello, hello. Let's do a little recap for you guys. Welcome, welcome. I'm not very familiar with your channel. Lovely to have you. Everybody, we're doing some chickpea sandwiches today. We're doing some chickpea hummus sandwiches. We're going to make the hummus soon in a molcajete. So that is definitely something that you want to stay tuned in for. We have these chickpeas that we've reserved, and we're going to make really delicious, nice, crispy roasted chickpeas. And then also, in my fridge at the moment, for these sandwiches, I have these really beautiful, quick pickled onions that we made today. So welcome on in. Let me just show you these bad boys. These are my quick pickled onions with dill and mustard seeds and coriander seeds and everything. Some garlic as well. Beautiful. And so we just, oh, excuse me. I might have choked on a chickpea as I just took a bite out of one. And we're just having that cool down in the fridge for today. So we're making some really, really beautiful sandwiches. So, guys, we just walked through how to slice herbs. So everybody that's coming in right now, I want you all to listen. I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, from everybody that just came in. I'm going to teach you how to slice fresh herbs. You might have just missed this entire explanation, but this is essential. This is important. And so we're going to talk about this right now. I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody. The people that are here, I want you to show how it's done. Lovely. So, I have behind me a nice bag of some fresh, delicious dill. People don't cook with enough dill. If you don't know how to use dill, well, this is a great exhibition on how to do so. Okay? Guys, here's some dill. Here's the #1 mistake people make when they chop the herbs. That's in the word itself. They chop it. They don't slice it. A chopping motion is what you do to trees. It is a vertical motion. You're using a very small portion of the blade itself, and you're crushing things as you go. When you do that to herbs, what happens is, excuse me, that's the chickpeas from before still. When you do that chopping motion, like an axe onto the herbs, what happens is you end up crushing a lot of the cells. You end up crushing it. You release a lot of the chlorophyll, you release a lot of the liquid, you release a lot of the aroma, and they end up losing their taste, and they end up losing their texture as well. So, guys, excuse me. I'm gonna have a sip of water. I'm talking too intensely. And so, we're going to start by first taking the dill off the stems, because I don't love the woody texture of the stems, although you can leave them on if you would like. It is just not my preference. Okay? I just find the texture, especially in a raw capacity, quite unpleasant. Excuse me. So we're just taking all the fronds of the dill. We're taking it off the stem. Okay? Off it all goes. Beautiful. And, okay, I'm gonna mute. Okay, I think you can hear me now. Hi. Okay. I love getting a twitch right and then choking on a chickpea immediately after. It's the only things that I can do. Okay, I think I'm fine now. Well, maybe not. Let's have another sip of water. Kind of embarrassing. Okay. So, we're going just back on through all of the dill, guys. We're going back through it. We're picking off all the fronds. I should be okay now. Knock on wood. Okay. Ugh. Brutal. Okay. And that should be about it. And again, the stems you'll still be able to pick out after you slice it. So guys, you need, in all cooking, but especially herbs, you need a sharp knife. If your knife is dull, you're going to end up crushing the food that you want to cut instead. And so we're going to take the dill. Please, yes chef, please and thank you. You're going to take all of the dill, and you're going to take it and you're going to bundle it up in your paws, in your hands. You're going to take it and you're going to hold it down, not so firmly that it flies, not so firmly that you crush it, excuse me, but not so gently that it ends up flying away instead. So you take it and you put it back down, lovely. And now we're slicing it. We're using the full length of the knife with as little vertical force as possible. Okay? Little vertical force. We're pulling the knife. We're barely pushing it down. We're just pulling, we're pulling base to tip, guys. And you can see my lovely dill is just now coming into fruition, beautifully, beautifully sliced. And this is how you get sliced herbs without actually crushing them. People say, oh, you ruin the flavor of it by crushing it and slicing it. And that only applies if you chop it. But we don't chop things in this household. We do not chop, especially our fine, delicate herbs. We're going to go ahead and give this a nice little rotation. Okay, just like so. Ooh, excuse me. Give this a nice little rotation. And we're going to go ahead and go through this one more time, just until it's mostly processed. And now, guys, you can tell it's not sticking to the cutting board. How many times in the past have you chopped herbs and it stuck to the cutting board? That's because you ended up crushing the cells and you released all the water and then it adhered to the surface. And then you would just end up losing the flavor of them instead. This is how you preserve the flavor. What knife is it? This is my carbon steel Zwilling Kramer knife. It's a very beautiful knife. I love this thing, but I don't recommend carbon steel knives for beginners because you have to make sure it doesn't rust. Okay, so all we're going to do, guys, we're going to take our bench scraper and we're going to pick everything off the cutting board. Nothing stuck at all. If you don't have a bench scraper, you should absolutely invest in one. And this is a little herb salad here. Right, so some of this is actually going to go into the sandwich itself. And then some of it is going to get cooked down with the crispy chickpeas, guys. Okay, so I'm just mixing all of it up. And I like to add it at the end because I'm not looking to like heavily cook it through. All I'll be looking for from it is to just get it a little bit softened. So we'll have like a tale of two herbs, right? We'll have some of like the really, really fresh ones and the texture, and then we'll have some of the more cooked ones and we get different flavors that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set that behind me now. The last little bit of prep that we need to do for today, guys. We have some garlic cloves here that are going to be now used for the hummus themselves. And for the garlic cloves for the hummus, all that we actually really need to do is we just need to go ahead and take the skins off because we'll be grinding them up in our molcajete today, right? Which I'm really excited to show off. Because we'll be grinding them down in the molcajete, we don't actually need to chop it or mince it or do anything crazy with it at the moment. Okay, guys? So I'm just taking the garlic cloves one by one. And I'm using approximately 2 to 3 garlic cloves. If I feel like by the end that it's going to need some more, then we'll just go ahead and add more. 2 to 3 garlic cloves, add it on in, lovely. That one got a bit more of a smash. And again, the reason we smash it is because it separates the skin from the rest of the flesh, from the rest of the clove. Okay? And now, I'm just going to go ahead and just cut off these dried off root ends because it doesn't make for very pleasant eating, guys. And so the beauty of what we're doing, we're going to be starting the garlic with lemon juice and salt. The lemon juice is going to naturally neutralize a lot of the pungency of the garlic itself in such a raw capacity. Okay, because at certain pH levels, I forgot what it was. I think Serious Eats did a very nice study on it. The thing that actually makes garlic pungent, allanase, right? It doesn't actually get formed in certain pH environments. So we're going to be mincing this and grinding it alongside some lemon juice. And so let's go ahead and get the lemon juice started and going now. Guys, I love having a citrus press. I love my citrus press to death. The reason why I love this tool is because we get the most out of the lemon that way. And we get to also keep all of the seeds inside. I think everybody should invest in a citrus press. Even if you're just juicing today 1 lemon, I hate doing it with my hands, especially if you're doing lemonade or whatever. Guys, you have to own a citrus juicer. Even if it is, you know, as Alton Brown would say, a unitasker, it is an excellent unitasker at what it does. So guys, all I'm doing, I'm just popping it down, and we're going to go ahead and give this a nice, big, beautiful squeeze. Flesh side down, by the way, not flesh up. Chat, I want to hear a nice yes, chef. If you do a flesh up, side up, it's going to squirt all of the juice all over the place, which is a mistake I've done in the past. And this is a tabletop one, which is really nice, so I don't have to like pick it up in my hands or anything. And we're crushing it down all the way, guys, flesh side down. And we're pouring in half of the lemon juice, because we definitely need at least 1/2 lemon for this amount of hummus. And then I'm going to separate the other half into a separate container. And the reason for this is because if we feel like we want to adjust with some more acidity later on, we always have that option. But if we add all the lemon juice immediately, we might have something that's a little bit too acidic. So I'm just going ahead and I'm separating these two. And I'm going ahead and I'm squeezing this big boy out, this big lemon. It's a big lemon today. There you go, nice and crushed. And get all of that juice out, guys. Nice and aromatic, lovely. And I'm going to go ahead and just chuck that out into the trash. And guys, this is my half lemon juice that was separated. This is the one that we'll be actually using inside of the molcajete today. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw my citrus juicer into the dishwasher because we have no more use for it. Okay, guys, guess what? I believe that is all of the prep that we needed to get done. So we're going to do one more little recap session, and then we're actually going to get into the process of making the crispy chickpeas and hummus. Is everybody excited? I want to hear a nice yes, chef. I know how much I'm asking you guys to say it today, but guess what? We have some new guests, and I want them to learn how the kitchen works. Also, anybody that is new here, I would love for you to know, I am here to teach you how to cook. I'm trying to run the best cooking show on Twitch. So, if you have any questions whatsoever, it can be about this dish today. By the way, you can always type an exclamation mark menu in the chat. If you have any questions whatsoever about what we're doing today, I am here to help you, okay? You can ask me about this dish. You can ask me about something else that we're doing. I typically stream Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 5 p.m. This is my Thursday stream. The next one is going to be Wednesday because I'm gone for the weekend. And I'll be posting the schedule and stuff. Already the best cooking show on Twitch? That's right, Serena. That's what I want to hear. So I just quickly rinsed off my carbon steel knife because it is a carbon steel knife. Well, guys, we're going to make it even better. I want to have something that is full production quality. And I don't actually think that we need a cutting board for anything else today. Everybody, please say thank you, Mr. Cutting Board, for its service. I am going to be casting a Brawlhalla event. I'll be posting it in my Discord, cough cough exclamation mark Discord, if you would like to be kept up on that. But yeah, I'm going to be casting some Brawlhalla this weekend. And so, I'm going to the studio to do that because I'm an esports commentator. I don't know if all of you guys know that I'm an esports commentator, but I'm a professional Smash Bros. And Brawlhalla esports commentator. But I'm trying to make this my full-time thing. I don't know, like, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people have seen me from, like, a lot of people know me from a lot of different places. Some people, like, know, a lot of people, like, they know me from Smash. Some people know me from Food Network 8 years ago, right? So a lot of people, they know me from a lot of different stuff. So it's interesting. And it's like interesting every now and then to have some people be like, wow, I never knew that you commentated esports. And I'm like, that's interesting because that is what my platform was originally built off of. Okay, everybody. everybody, today, what are we doing? We're making some incredible, some really, really beautiful chickpea sandwiches today with a homemade hummus. And we're giving the hummus a lot of love, and we'll be doing it today in a molcajete today. We're doing chickpeas two ways. We'll take some of the chickpeas that we already have here, straining and steam drying out, and we're going to make some incredible roasted chickpeas, pan roasted chickpeas. We're going to be doing the America's Test Kitchen method by actually first microwaving them, which might seem insane to some of you. But we'll be first microwaving them, and then we'll be sautéing them in a good amount of olive oil with some spices, and I'll show you those in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and set that behind me. Lovely, that's all done. So let's talk about the crispy chickpeas for a second, guys. So really quickly, let's head back to my overhead camera. I have a quarter of an onion that I minced up here. You can use as much or as little onion as you want. I went for a small dice because I'm looking for the onions to be a flavoring for the chickpeas. I'm not looking for there to be massive chunks of it. My box lunch to Valhalla? Oh, that'll be pretty good one day. Okay, next we have this medley of parsley, dill, and coriander. And the reason why I have these three herbs is because that's what I had in my fridge and I needed to get rid of it today. And there is such a really beautiful way to get rid of these kinds of fresh herbs. We're going to be finishing the chickpeas with it. We're going to be adding some into the chickpeas at the end. And then we're going to just go ahead and stuff some into the sandwiches as well. So we get a lot of herbs. We get a lot of really, really fresh flavor. Okay, guys. Then for actually seasoning the chickpeas themselves, here's what I have. I have freshly ground, home ground coriander and cumin seeds. We don't use pre-ground spices. Chat, do we use pre-ground spices in this household? We do not, and we crushed it up in a molcajete. Then we have some red peppercorns and one chili that I went ahead and sliced up for y'all. And then I have a bunch of garlic. This was like 4 cloves pressed through a garlic press. Okay, and that's going to be for the roasted chickpeas. And then for the actual hummus portion itself, guys, we have these garlic cloves and lemon juice. We're going to be grinding this up in a molcajete. Okay, we're going to get this really, really lovely, beautiful paste out of it. Then we also have some tahini here. I have some Greek tahini. I'm not really sure how that's different from other forms of tahini. But we have some tahini here. It's going to be added towards the end. And we have the chickpeas in the pressure cooker that are getting really, really nice and beautifully soft at this stage. And we're going to add in and supplement chickpea cooking liquid if we ever feel like we want and need to thin out the hummus. And hummus is really, really beautiful because it can be used in so many different things, and it brings so much. It brings acidity, it brings nuttiness, it brings saltiness, it brings creaminess. Chickpeas are so versatile, and this is the first time that I'm actually doing something vegan on the cooking show. Okay, so without further ado, I believe, oh, actually, there's one more thing I forgot to talk about, guys. I'm so sorry. Ooh, Everglade, you say, do I recommend making my own tahini? I've never made it, so I actually have not had a comparison. But that would be a lovely thing for me to try because I don't make a lot of Middle Eastern cooking. And guys, these are my quick pickled onions. I had some red onion, I had some garlic, I had some dill, I had some mustard seeds, some black peppercorns. The beauty of a quick pickle is you get to basically use whatever you want inside of it. It's going to bring some much needed sweetness and acidity into the sandwich for today. Is everybody excited? I want to hear a nice yes, chef. And also, for those of you that haven't already done so, please check out my Patreon, !mark Patreon. I would love to be able to do these full time. I want to keep these advertising and sponsoring free because I never want to sell out. I never want to sell your attention spans. I want to teach you all how to cook. But yeah, making homemade tahini might be really, really fun. So maybe we'll just give it a shot one day. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and figure out which thing we're going to be doing first. Are we going to be doing the spicy, crispy chickpeas? We're going to start by doing the crispy chickpeas, and I'm going to tell you why. We're going to actually be, gasp, microwaving them. There is a very specific reason that we're microwaving the chickpeas for today. Guys, microwaves have their place in the kitchen. These chickpeas have been steam drying. These are the firm cooked ones. We're going to be cooking them for 5 minutes in the microwave just by themselves. This is a method that I saw on America's Test Kitchen. When you cook them in a microwave for 5 minutes like that, the outside of it gets really, really beautifully crispy, and then we'll go ahead and saute them in olive oil. I am here to kill stigmas and misconceptions about the microwave. The microwave does a lot of really important things, and then some things it's not so well suited for. For chickpeas, it's a really, really amazing method. And you can see, because of the fact that we steam dried them, they are no longer soaking wet, okay? And they're nice and firm. Another reason you shouldn't be using canned chickpeas is because you don't get to control the texture out of it. So guys, chickpeas, they're just going to be going directly onto this plate. And we're going to go ahead and just shake it up and make sure that we basically have a flat layer of chickpeas. If you see any chickpea skins. No, I will never defend a slap chop. You know how I feel about chopping. Hate it to death. Guys, we're just going to go ahead and go through all of this. If you see any loose skins, once again, you want to go ahead and pick those off. I'm not going to say that. Not going to go that far. Okay, something like that should be more than okay. And guys, all we're going to do, we're going to toss them into the microwave for 2.5 minutes, and then I'm going to mix them around and put them back in for another 2.5 minutes or so. Okay, we only need to really cook them for 5 minutes. I'm not looking for a super like shatteringly crisp chickpea. I'm looking for something that still has a little bit of tenderness to them. So 2.5 minutes going in now. I don't know the wattage or the intensity of my microwave. I don't use it that often. I might keep this bowl for something else afterwards. Yeah, I think that's actually where we'll be draining off the next batch of chickpeas, guys. Okay, and now let's go ahead and release the pressure on the cooked chickpeas once more. We put in the chickpeas for a second batch so that they can get really mushy and soft and perfect for a hummus. And yes, hummus has to be home cooked. Canned chickpeas, you can reboil them to get like the right texture and stuff, but guys, it's just not the same. So we're going to go ahead and set up our molcajete with a lovely little towel. This is so that our molcajete, because it is purely made out of stone, it doesn't scratch the surface of my table. Guys, a molcajete, the Mexican molcajete, is not traditionally used to make hummus. This is not a traditional use of it. But I thought it would be a really nice way to break it in because this is my now officially second time using it. This is where we also ground up the spices. It's fine, it's just cumin and coriander. So it's going to be more than delicious. And so guys, so the way that you want to use a molcajete, it's not about pounding. A regular mortar and pestle, a wooden one, whatever, those would be about pounding. Molcajetes, because of their coarse texture, they're for grinding instead. They're for grinding and they're coarse and they'll be able to beautifully break things down. Okay, so into the molcajete immediately is going to go in, also my chickpeas have released pressure. I'm actually going to, before we even begin the grinding process, I'm just going to show you my chickpeas. Okay. My chickpeas have released all of their pressure. This was the second cooked. These are my twice cooked chickpeas now, right? So we get to really control that texture this way beautifully. And now you can definitely see the skins starting to come off. Excellent. That's what it should look like, guys. Okay, so all we're going to do now, actually, really quickly, I'm going to try my best to take out that big sheet of onion. Everybody, please say thank you to Mr. Onion. He did a wonderful job for us, but he has contributed everything that he possibly could. He gave it his all, and now it's time for him to die. So I'm going ahead, and I'm going in there, and I'm just plucking out any of the big chunks of onion, because we have no use for it. It has done its job, and we want this chickpea cooking liquid, guys. The reason why, it's also really nice to make homemade chickpeas and stuff. This liquid right here has so much flavor and so much thickening potential. Oftentimes also called aquafaba, although I just find it kind of cringe to call it that. Guys, the chickpeas have finished microwaving for the first 2.5 minutes. Let's go ahead and take them out, and I'm going to show you what they look like now. The edges of the plate, they could be hot, so you do have to be careful. Yeah, I think right here should be more than fine. So guys, these are the chickpeas, and you can see they almost look like popcorn. Okay, they almost look like popcorn. And so all we're looking to do, guys, we're looking to dry out the exterior of these chickpeas, and these bad boys are going to get so beautifully crispy. We're just giving them a little rotation. You don't have to be like flipping them over or anything crazy like that. We just give them a little rotation. We lay them back out nice and flat. Make sure that none of them are stacked on top of each other, no touching, as much as we can. Okay? And these are going back in for at least, we're going to do like 3 more minutes because we ended up stopping the cooking process by pulling them out early. We're going to do another 3 minutes or so. And then we will have some perfectly cooked chickpeas, guys. Does anybody have any questions so far? 3 minutes going on now. Lovely. And these chickpeas right here. And it doesn't have to just be about this dish, guys. It can be about anything that you want whatsoever. I'd love questions because my goal is to teach all of you guys how to cook at home. I'm not teaching you restaurant dishes. I am adapting things all into a home setting and teaching you how fun and exciting and creative the ritual and the endeavor of home cooking can be. Home cooking doesn't have to just be about getting something into your mouth. It can be about saving money. It can be about making something delicious, something meaningful, And that's exactly what we're trying to do here on the cooking show. Okay? And just getting rid of the last of those pesky little bay leaves. Although we're not going to end up grinding them up anyways. The bay leaves, the onions, the garlic, they've all done an incredible, incredible job in flavoring these chickpeas for us today. Great. Can we incorporate estrogen into the dishes? Shinji, I don't think you would want to do that. It might not taste very good. It doesn't taste good. Well, estrogen pills, they do taste quite sweet. Okay, guys. It is now time to begin the long-awaiting molcajete session. We're going to begin by grinding down my lemon juice and my garlic. Estrogen pills are a little bit sweet, but the actual injection fluid is going to give you a tummy ache. Do not taste that. Guys, this is my garlic and my lemon juice. I have half of my lemon juice separated in case we actually want to add it later on. We don't add it all immediately because if we try to add it all immediately, it's instead just going to risk making the whole thing a little bit too acidic because lemons are extremely, extremely variable. Sometimes they're less acidic, sometimes they're more. So we're going to start by putting down a little bit of salt into the molcajete, and the salt is going to act like a really, really nice abrasive in addition to the seasoning. So the lemon juice and the garlic paste is going to be a little bit too salty at this stage. Okay? It's going to be too salty, and that's okay. We're going to add in the lemon juice and the garlic, guys. And now, this is all about grinding. A molcajete is about grinding. You take the garlic and you grind it along the edges of your molcajete. It's not about smashing. It's not about pounding. You want to go ahead and you want to make a really, really delicious, aromatic garlic lemon paste. And the reason we start with the garlic in the lemon juice, once again, is because the acidity and the pH of the lemon juice, it does a really, really wonderful job of neutralizing the pungency of the garlic. Okay? I'm actually going to go ahead and tie up my hair through this. I've learned from last time. Just like so. Lovely. So we're going in there, guys. We're going in there and we're making a really, really beautiful lemon garlic paste. And this is going to be the base seasoning of... Oh, wait. Is my hair cute like this? Is this a look? It's actually kind of cute. Not bad. I should do that more often. Whoa. I can't tell because my laptop is like at a bit of a distance. So I was just like, okay. My chickpeas are done. They finished microwaving, guys. We got them nice and dry on the surface, and that way they're going to get really, really beautifully crispy when we actually get to sautéing them. Right? So we just wanted to get that step of prep done and out of the way for today. Okay, guys, we're going to go back into the molcajete. And you can see the garlic. I mean, it is just absolutely disintegrating because of the abrasion of the lemon juice. The abrasion of the salt and how abrasive the sides of it are. Guys, molcajetes, Mexican or Latin American molcajetes, they're not for doing this. You do not do that to a molcajete. I want to hear a nice yes, chef, please and thank you. Okay, these bad boys are for grinding. All right, so you're going to go in there, you're going to go back in there, and you're going to just take it and you're going to smear it around the sides, and we're going to get this really, really beautiful paste. Okay, guys? Some people, they add cumin. A lot of different cultures, a lot of different countries, they do all of their hummus a little bit differently in the Middle East themselves, okay? Thank you, Slippy. I appreciate it. So you would have some cultures that add like more tahini. You have some that like to garnish it with stuff. The number one rule for me, for my hummus, guys, everybody, do not, well, if you want a Daramgar style hummus, you do not actually mix olive oil inside of the hummus. And you might be asking me, hey Dara, why is that? Well, if you're Middle Eastern, you might already know this. And the reason you don't actually mix in the olive oil into the hummus, you only put it on top as a garnish. That way, you get the fat really, really beautifully coating the hummus itself instead of becoming just one kind of sauce. The beauty is in its heterogeneity, in its presentation, in its serving. My favorite way of serving hummus is having my hummus and then garnishing it with a bunch, like a pool of olive oil, and then some roasted chickpeas and then some spices on top. That way, you get all of these wonderful layers. Guys, saying that putting olive oil on top would be like mixing it in and it's the same thing is like saying a sandwich is the same if you blended it up. If you blended up a sandwich, is it gonna taste the same? No, because the order and the layer in which you experience and taste ingredients changes the way that it actually tastes. So we don't add olive oil inside of the hummus itself. Instead, we only garnish it. We only put it on top. So guys, take a look at this beautiful garlic paste that is quickly now forming. We're almost there, guys. It just takes a few seconds because, again, the beauty of the molcajete, guys, is how coarse it is, how it's just able to transform things. And this is going to be way too salty at the stage. We added in this much salt to really, really assist with the grinding down of the garlic, and we're getting this really, really beautiful, delicious aromatic paste now, guys. This is truly the money shot of today. This is going to be the money shot of today. This is going to be lovely. Okay. Excellent. And now, guys, guess what? That is just about done. You don't have to go ahead and go until this is completely smooth, but we're just making sure that there's no garlic chunks in here. Because we're using raw garlic, we're not using, a million, pounds of it. We're just using 3 to 4 garlic cloves. If we ever feel like more, worst case, we can just go in with a garlic press or something. But 3 to 4 garlic cloves is my ideal amount at least. Okay, guys. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start going in with some chickpeas. And then we'll be able to thin out the texture later exactly as needed. So I'm just going ahead and I'm putting them into the bowl, and the bowl is going to catch all of that excess cooking liquid as well. Okay? Into the bowl they go, into the strainer, excuse me. And it's okay for them to be a little bit wet. That is not a problem at all. Because again, we need this chickpea cooking liquid, and the chickpea cooking liquid is so much tastier than the garbage canned liquid. Even though that was also at one point chickpea cooking liquid, that has like a really, really disgusting, like tinned taste to it, which I do not like at all. Okay, so guys, let's go ahead and go back on into the molcajete itself. Boop, in we go, lovely, beautiful. And we're going to go in with a little shake of some of the chickpeas. We're not going to add all of it at once. Guys, number 1 rule of a molcajete, do not overcrowd your molcajete. If you overcrowd it, you're going to really, really struggle with getting anything processed. And now, this is the next beauty of the molcajete. What is the difference between a molcajete and a blender? Neither one is better or worse than the other, but a molcajete grinds. And you know what blenders don't do so well? They chop, and when they chop, they're not actually able to process the chickpea skins nearly as well. And you can guys already see how delicious and creamy this hummus is now starting to take place. It is starting to take form. You also want to be doing this either in a blender, in a food processor, when it is warm. If you have an enclosed blender like a Ninja Bullet or something, you have to let it cool down. But when it's hot, it does actually objectively smush down and become a lovely hummus a lot easier. Okay? I have a feeling that we're going to definitely need some more lemon juice than this. And we're going to go ahead and spoon in some of that liquid as well, guys. It's going to be perfect. Ooh, look at that. It's already all coming together to make a beautiful hummus. And so the only thing I'm really looking for, I don't really care about having chunks of chickpea in here. I care about making sure that my skins are all ground up in here. And yeah, my wrists are tired too, but we're not rotating the wrist. We're rotating our arms instead, right? And we're using the full surface of it, and we're smearing it along it. This is not a traditional usage of a molcajete, of course, right? Because this is, a Mexican tool, and we're using it for a Middle Eastern dish here, but it's still going to be really, really amazing at the end of the day. I'm just going to go ahead and put this pot back there. We don't need that right now. We're going to go ahead and get some of this chickpea liquid inside. And that chickpea liquid has the aroma of the onions. It has the aroma of the bay leaves and everything. It has a lot of flavor inside of it. It has a lot to actually say. Okay. Jack asks me, would you make a stream where you recreate video game foods? The answer is no. Because my intention is I want to teach and fix the way that people cook at home. My intention isn't to cook as a gimmick or as a novelty or as a hobby. I want to really, really, really teach people what it means to be a home cook and how to recreate incredible taste in a home setting and bring back a lot of, produce-based things in a way that is accessible to people. I don't want to be using fancy ingredients. So the reason why I would never really do like video game food, Jack, is because that's not how I think about home cooking. I think about it as a novelty. And so Raptify, you ask me if I'm going to strain the hummus. I don't think I'm going to do that because this is part of my intentions. If you strain your hummus, you are going to be left with some solids that you have to discard, so it's a little bit more wasteful. But the product that you get is a lot more, it's a lot more creamy, it's a lot more perfect. I actually really like having a little bit of texture in my hummus itself. So I don't personally strain it for that way, but if I wanted this purely as like a dipping sauce, maybe then I would strain it, right? But because this is going into a sandwich, I actually wanted a slightly more substantial one. Is this a furry friendly stream? Breadworms, I am wearing a dog collar. I hope this answers your question. Is this a furry friendly stream? This is the friendliest furry stream on the internet. Furries are not only welcome here. I'm not specifying more about myself. My hummus, guys. Lovely. Look at this hummus, huh? It's really starting to come together now. And we're getting it nice and beautifully creamy, guys. Yeah. There we go. Nice. Okay, so at this stage, I think I would be comfortable with adding a few more chickpeas. Okay. And again, this is really essential to actually working in a molcajete, guys. Okay. You have to do things incrementally. You cannot just go in with everything all at once. You go in with everything all at once, it's going to get a little bit too crowded, and then you're just going to end up with a really huge mess. And we're going to adjust for seasoning later. The salt can always be added later on. There was a bunch of salt in the beginning stages, so it is probably perfectly seasoned now. But we have a lot more chickpeas to go through. And so guys, you are noticing, look how thick it is. Look how, this is not a perfectly creamy hummus, is it? The tahini that we're adding later on is going to thin this out. But what we really want right now is a little bit more chickpea cooking liquid. So let's go ahead and add some in now. Okay? So we're going to just do a little ladle, a little teeny tiny spoonful of chickpea cooking liquid, and we're just using that to help facilitate the process. Again, you can't do this with canned chickpeas because the canned chickpea cooking liquid, it tastes like a can. You guys know that canned tinny taste that it has? That's what your hummus is going to end up tasting like. But by using a really freshly, beautifully cooked chickpea instead, we get to include all of that cooking liquid. Oh, excellent. And we're just going in here and we're grinding up all the solids. We're finding every single garbanzo bean, every single little chickpea. And then also, guys, what's really nice with a molcajete, you want to make sure that you have a nice clean spoon or so. And every now and then, when things are just really pouring over the top, but oh, guys, this is getting smooth. This is getting beautiful. This hummus today is going to be incredible. You can never go back to canned. You can never go back to pre-made hummus. Once you go fresh hummus, you can never go back. Store-bought hummus, guys, it is absolutely flavorless. It is terrible. And it is just way too expensive for what it is. This should be one of the cheapest things alive. Guys, this is made from staples. I'm sorry to yell at you, but this is made from beans. This is the food, historically, that was universal and accessible to all. In no universe should a thing of hummus in a grocery store cost the amount that it does. In no universe whatsoever. It is absolutely criminal. It is criminal for these brands to sell you awful quality hummus without the fresh ingredients for those amount of costs. Guys, it is a bean paste. At its core, a hummus is an incredible, delicious bean paste. And so the idea of stores selling it in these little packages for $2, for $5, for $6, $7, $8. It's absurd to me conceptually. And it does not taste like the fresh stuff. It really does not. I would love to do homemade tahini as well at some point though. I'm curious to see how easy it is to do. I just also have access to good tahini though. Not everything has to be done at home. If you have access to good makers in your area and you have the money for it. I live in a very immigrant heavy community, so I do have access to a lot of really good Middle Eastern ingredients, specifically because I have a really huge Turkish community in my area. Oh, guys, this hummus, that stuff is getting amazing now. We're just grinding all of it up. We're getting rid of any grit that we could find in it, okay? I know this doesn't look like the smoothest hummus in the world, guys. I know it looks a little bit chunky. That's okay. Guys, this is a homemade hummus. We're not using a blender. The goal isn't to recreate the texture of a blender. The goal is just to grind down the seeds and still just have a little bit of pleasant texture in my hummus. I know there's some people that, especially, maybe if they like grew up like Middle Eastern, that may disagree with what I'm doing here. But my goal is not to have the world's smoothest hummus through using the molcajete. I wanted an excuse to use the molcajete. That's what I wanted. I wanted an excuse to use the molcajete, and I'm looking for a heterogeneous texture. So, relative to my intentions, this is going to be an amazing hummus. If somebody was expecting like a silky, like perfectly homogeneous hummus, they're not going to love this one. You can only judge food under the intentions that it was created. It would be unfair to judge my hummus as not being smooth enough, because that's not the standard that I'm going for. Okay? So there's no such thing as a bad cooking idea, guys. There's only poor execution relative to your own intentions. Okay, that looks good. We're going to go in with another really nice, beautiful spoonful of the hummus itself, or the chickpeas themselves, excuse me. Again, we're choosing very carefully not to overcrowd this or anything, guys. And I'm just going to go in with yet another ladle of some of the chickpea cooking liquid. We're not going to go through the final texture, guys, because we're going to be finishing this with tahini, okay? So you want to make sure that this is still a little tiny bit too thick at the end of it. And we're going to go back in there, and we're going to continue grinding and grinding and grinding. We're staying on... Don't splash at me. Who do you think I am? Do you know how many Twitch followers I have? Mr. Molcajete? Relax. Also, guys, I'm going to do something for the thumbnail right now for the YouTube VOD. Hint, hint, exclamation mark, YouTube. I'm just going to do this just so that we can get a pure shot of us making the hummus itself, just for a second. And then we'll head back into it. Oh, beautiful. I know you guys miss me. I know. Let's go back. We'll see if we'll end up using it. Oof. Go ahead, and we're just continuing to just process up all of these chickpeas. And we're going to save a few chickpeas, by the way, for the garnish itself. Okay? I am speaking to the molcajete. I apologize. I speak to my cooking equipment all of the time. That is how you become an excellent chef. Let's go ahead and clean up the pestle slightly, because that's where like a lot of the chunk does tend to accumulate. This is a lot of mass. We're making a generous amount of hummus today, guys. Oof, my wrist is getting tired. It's because it's so thick and ushy-gushy in a way, right? Because it's so viscous. It is like definitely like pulling back my tool more than I would typically like. Are you a hobby cook, or did I work in a profession for some time? I would consider myself am pro. So I have been cooking since I was 7 years old. I'm 14 years old, so I've been cooking for 14 years now. It is not just a hobby, I would say. I would argue that it is very core to my life and my philosophy, and my special interest spanning my entire life. You know? Wait, I've been cooking for 14 years. I'm 21 years old. I'm not 14. Okay, and we're continuing. Whew. I gotta say, this is laborious. I wish this thing was a little bit longer. I know, that's what I'm saying. A hummus and a molcajete is an excellent idea, isn't it? Right? I was onto something. I'm telling you, pseudo-natural. Okay, guys, and you can tell we just smooth it out a little bit. Look at the texture of this hummus. I know it doesn't look that special, but when we just smooth it out just a little bit. Amazing. Now, ooh, that's good. Okay, guys, I give it a little taste. Remember, the reserved lemon juice that we had. This is a very nice time to add it on in, because I'm going to go in with about half of it at this point. And then we're going to go in with a nice little sprinkle of salt. We don't go with all the lemon juice immediately because we don't know how acidic the lemons are going to be until we actually taste them. Because lemons are extremely variable depending on where they're from, depending on the tree, depending on the time of season. So we go ahead and we reserve some. Guys, this is why recipes suck. This is why recipes that say use 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Absolute nonsense. That is not what cooking is about. Cooking is about tasting something and figuring out what do you as a chef actually want more in it. You need a picture in your mind. How do I imagine this coming out? How do I imagine this tasting at the end of the day? Okay, that's what I want you to do. That's the intention that I want you to build up. I hate teaching people recipes. Guys, is this a recipe? It's not. I am showing you how I would make hummus in a molcajete. I have basic hummus theory and knowledge, and I understand how it works and the kinds of things that you're looking for because I've eaten it so many different times. If you're making a completely new dish that you haven't tried to eat before, then of course you may need to rely on some other external sources or a recipe. I've eaten hummus my entire life, and so I am just simply picturing in my mind what is the taste, what is the texture that I desire out of Mr. Hummus, out of my hummus. It's my hummus, nobody else's. And it has to just be perfect relative to me. Guys, you cook for yourself. Oh my God, we're already streaming 2 hours? Guys, we're not even done. We still haven't finished making the hummus. Is this okay that the stream is going so long today? I hope you guys have been enjoying the show so far. Even though we haven't had like that much to do, I've been taking my time with every step and just like having a lot of fun with it. So we're continuing to take it. Ooh, ow, I just snapped my thumb. Ouchies. And we're going to go back in and we're continuing to grind it up, guys. And you can go at this as long as you want, and you can use a blender, you can use a food processor, you can use whatever tool that you have, because they go ahead and they just make different products. This isn't better or worse than a food processor. In fact, many would say that it's worse, but it is just a different texture. I was going for something a little bit coarse. You have to have expectations with all of your different tools. And the point of a molcajete isn't to get you a perfect puree. The goal of a molcajete is going to be grinding things like skins and seeds. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go in. I don't have actually that many chickpeas there left. And my goal is to use up all of these chickpeas. So we're going to do this in one more batch after we're done with this one. Guys, this molcajete is getting full. My wrist is getting a little bit tired, but we're going to go ahead and power through this. Chat, do you think I can do this? Do you think I can go ahead? Let's go ahead and just make some space and we'll make a dedicated grinding zone. I don't love how sticky this is. We're going to go ahead and go in with another ladle of my beautiful chickpea cooking liquid. Right inside. Because again, I'm looking for something really beautiful and creamy, and the additional liquid is going to help with that. Okay? Nice little spoon of that. Just going on in. It's also going to help things not stick to my pestle as much. I don't think this molcajete was designed to accommodate this many ingredients. It's a little small for this. For like a half-pound worth of chickpeas, even this massive 20-pound molcajete is struggling. So we might take some out and start doing this in 2 batches. Ooh. Delicious. Oh my gosh. That, let me taste that one more time. In fact, I think we should do the rest of my lemon juice. I want some more acidity in here. I love the citrusiness, I love the brightness of it. That's what I want for my hummus today. So we're doing an entire lemon's worth of juice. And the garlic, guys, despite the garlic having been raw, because of the way that we actually minced it up, with the lemon juice instead, we don't get any of that harsh, raw garlic pungent taste. Okay, we're also going to do another sprinkle of salt. Chef can scoop a cup out. Yeah, I think I'm going to scoop a cup out in a second. I'm just going to go in with a nice big pinch of salt once again. And we're just going to continue to just clean it all up and grind this whole thing down into oblivion. Ooh, that is sticky. That is viscous. My goodness, guys. Okay, yep, I think it's time for us to scoop some out. We're making this needlessly difficult upon ourselves. I'm going to go ahead and take my spoon. We're going to create a little bit more space for us, guys. Work smarter and not harder. All right, there's no reason for us to have to brute force this at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and just scoop a little bit out. I've been continuously salting tuna. I've been continuously salting this whole time. Chef, have I ever made any desserts with aquafaba? I have not. Aquafaba, by the way, for those of you that might be uninitiated, aquafaba is what people refer to as the chickpea cooking liquid. And it's very, very prized in a lot of vegan cooking, especially for its thickening properties that are similar to that of an egg white. So it is able to take on a lot of air. Okay? I've never really personally made desserts with aquafaba. The reason for that is also I just don't bake. Or I don't bake pastries, rather. I don't love sweets. I don't love desserts. I don't try to have any sugar in my diet. I have a very strong philosophical reason for this. Both culinarily speaking and historically as well. But I have almost no like added sugar in my diet. Yeah, so like those things that you guys are mentioning, yeah, that's like very, very common. That's very, very typical. Right? Okay, I'm just going through all of this stuff, guys, just processing this up really, really nicely. Okay. Let me go ahead and see the texture of that. It's a little too close for my taste, though. I want this to be even smoother. Guys, again, I really, really do apologize how long this is all taking. Such is the reality of making a hummus. In a molcajete, a very primitive tool, right? But has its uses. I just think this one is definitely not sized for this amount of filling inside of it. So that's okay. So we're really grinding and grinding and grinding it up, guys. And we're cleaning off my pestle. But yeah, cutting out sugar entirely out of my diet, I have a couple of reasons for this, if you guys would like to hear a little bit about why. This was a decision I made, you know, quite a long time ago already. So there's a couple of reasons for this. So here's the first thing. We, in a modern diet, we eat an incredible amount of sugar, even if you don't even include naturally, like, if you don't even include added sources of sugar. In the amount of food that we eat, in the amount of bread that we have a lot of sugar in our diets. Okay, that is just already naturally present and available to us. Okay, sugar, you don't taste it as an ingredient. You taste it purely as a taste. It is something that comes naturally derived from either a sugar beet or a sugar cane typically, right? And it absolutely doesn't taste like the original plant that it came from. You get this super ultra refined product, one that has a history of slave labor that to this day, cane sugar has of course, you know, still uses exploitative labor in South America, right? All of that for the sake of an additional sweetening product that we already get plenty enough in our diets. And so, a lot of health problems come from that. And so, the biggest change that I've ever made for myself and being able to actually control it, because I want to eat a lot of food. I love eating a lot of food, guys. So the biggest change for me that has been good was just completely cutting it out. That is the way that I allowed myself to eat as much food as I do. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move all of this stuff on over to the side. And I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up because this is now the batch that is done. And so to this side of the molcajete, I'm going to be adding in. Oh, guys, that is good. So simple, but so delicious. You guys have no idea. Lovely, beautiful. We're going to go in with the rest of this. I've realized that this is actually a much smaller amount and it's going to be a lot easier for us to process. And this bad boy, we're going to go ahead and just take that away. Excellent. Aw, you guys are so sweet to me. Just go ahead and get rid of all of that. Lovely. And now, we're going to go in with the last remainder of our chickpeas, guys. Remember these bad boys, they've been chilling out, they've been cooling off. And we're going to go in with one more glug of chickpea cooking liquid. And another more, there you go, that should be perfect. Because guys, we're going to be looking for a very beautifully smooth, creamy consistency. And we're going to be thinning this out with as much chickpea liquid as we actually possibly need to achieve that dream that we have. And then for the actual addition of the tahini itself, I think I'm just going to do that in a big mixing bowl, because then at that point the chickpeas, they don't particularly need to be ground further. The only thing I'm really doing here, guys, is I'm just making sure I'm grinding those skins. I'm grinding those skins. I'm grinding the skins themselves against this. Don't splash at me. Do not splash at me. What do you think you are? Okay, just keep going at it, guys. Be nice and patient. So, if there was any takeaways from this, if you want to make hummus in a molcajete, you either need to be doing this in batches or use a bigger molcajete. Otherwise, if this is not the amount of time that you want to dedicate to something like this, use a food processor, use a blender. The texture is not going to be the same. It's going to innately be different, but I was looking for this. Thank you, School of Rock and Roll, for answering as the molcajete. I really, really appreciate it. Okay? Let's go ahead and get this stuff back on inside. I'm sorry how long this is taking, guys. I know I'm spending like 20 minutes on just the grinding portion of this itself. I definitely used too many chickpeas, but that's okay. Making a big batch of hummus today. Okay, it's getting there. It's getting processed. We're not getting lazy now, guys. We're not going to stop now. Although, at any point, nobody would actually blame you. Let's go ahead and get all of this stuff back on in. I mean, you can just see how still coarse it is, right? It's not... well, that's delicious. That's so good. That is a really, really lovely hummus, though. And that is still before the addition of one of the most essential components, guys, which is going to be the tahini. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it absolutely going. Do not stop. We're going to continue grinding down all of these chickpeas until we have one beautiful hummus, guys. Is that clear? Is everybody paying attention? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody watching. And of course, if you have any more questions at this point, this is a really good time to ask, as I am actively being occupied by the process of hummus grinding. Okay, we're getting there. I definitely just added too many chickpeas at once. That's okay. It happens to the best of us, yeah? Oof. Okay, I think at some point or another, I'm actually going to be giving up soon. And that's okay. That happens to the best of us, guys. We've been fighting for a long time. We're not going to have the world's creamiest hummus, and that's okay. I never set out with those intentions to begin with. I just wanted one that was flavorful, one that was done in my molcajete. I don't think I'll be doing more hummus molcajetes again, at least for this amount of that I want to be doing, because I like making a big batch of hummus at once. So, let's just inspect it. Let's inspect element's texture. Let's do a couple more passes. Can you do circles? You can, but then when you do circles, it does end up spilling out and you're not really grinding anything because it pushes things down. So instead, you want to really just take it and grind it like this. Okay? That's what you're really, really looking for in terms of technique. Okay, I'm done. That's it. I'm going to settle on this. Guys, once again, not the creamiest molcajete in the world, not the creamiest hummus in the world, but that's completely and totally okay for my intentions. All right? So we're going to go ahead and get all of this lovely and beautifully transferred into my bowl. Okay, let's go ahead and get this batch. Let's get it inside. And we're going to be adding in some tahini. We're going to be adding in some salt. And we're going to be adding in some more liquid. Already though, that is an incredible taste. An incredible, incredible flavor. Okay? And I'm just going to go in. I'm going to just grab a bigger spoon. This spoon is definitely way too small. And then we're going to go ahead and whisk in some stuff into it. Okay? It'll be good. We no longer need this tool. I already forgot what it's called in Spanish, but this is a pestle. Right? I keep tasting it. It's amazing. Okay. And going in with the rest of it, guys. Please be patient with me for this process. And then we're going to be finishing it off by whisking in the tahini, whisking in some more of the liquid as needed. And we're going to get something truly delicious by the end of this. Okay, a little bit more hummus to go. That has to now escape from the clutches of the molcajete itself. Make sure we're wasting as little as humanly possible. Okay, and I think that'll just about do it for me. Amazing. Okay, guys, I'm now going to go ahead and get rid of my molcajete. Everybody, please say thank you to Mr. Molcajete. He tried his best, even under the circumstances. Even if he didn't I hit something. Even if he didn't completely succeed, he did an incredible job for us today. Delicious. I probably shouldn't do that. That's fine. It's really good. It's already a really good, delicious base. And it's basically just the chickpeas, right? Okay, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this as well. The bowl has done its job for us. All of that has done a really, really wonderful, really beautiful job. And now, we are going to spoon in a generous amount of tahini. Now, the amount of tahini that you actually add is entirely up to you. A lot of cultures, a lot of, different countries and families, they all do it a little bit differently. Okay, guys? So all I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to open up my fresh container of this Greek tahini that I have. I'm not really sure what makes it a Greek tahini, but it is a Greek tahini. At the end of the day, it should just be still sesame seeds. And that it is. It's going to be nice and nutty. It's going to make the whole thing really, really delicious. And so, guys, here's what we're going to do. We are going to get another big, generous glug of the chickpea cooking liquid right directly inside. One big ladle full, going all in. Then we're going to go inside with a nice big, beautiful spoonful of the tahini. You just want to go ahead and the tahini itself, it actually separates. So you want to go ahead and get it basically mixed up as much as you physically can. It's basically like a natural peanut butter, right? No emulsifiers, it's just blended up sesame seeds. So you want to go ahead and mix it all up. Ooh, I dripped it off the sides. Oh no. I do love tahini though. I do eat it like peanut butter. A lot of people don't like doing that, but you can eat it like peanut butter. Okay, I hope I didn't drip any on the ground because it is annoying as hell to clean up. Although, if we don't completely mix it through, we'll still whisk it all in, and it will be fine at the end of the day. So we don't really have to. But yeah, guys, this is ground up sesame paste, and we're going to go in with a massive, massive spoon of it. Because again, I love a generous amount of tahini in my hummuses. Okay, we're going to start with a massive spoonful of it, and then we're going to do another big thing of salt right inside. Okay, just to make sure the whole thing gets nicely and beautifully seasoned through. And now, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a whisk, and I'm looking for a nice creamy consistency. Okay, so we're just going to move it around. We're going to get the whole thing. Okay, guys, if I splash on myself one more time, I'm going to lose it. We're just going to go ahead, maybe a little less aggressively this time around. We're just going ahead and mixing it all until it all comes together. And I know this isn't the creamiest hummus that you've ever seen, guys. I did it in a molcajete, but that's okay, all right? And it's going to seize up. It's going to get thicker and thicker, and we're just going to keep whisking it until we get a desired consistency. There we go. Now it's coming together. Is this the creamiest hummus you've ever seen? No. Is that what I was going for? A super, ultra creamy, perfect hummus that was passed through a sieve? Absolutely not. That was not my intention for today. Okay, so we're continuing to whisk it in. The texture of it is going to modify and change because of the way that the tahini actually works and the way that it seizes up. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and give this bad boy a little proper taste. And then we have to cook the rest of the chickpeas. That was the perfect amount of tahini. Nice and nutty. You get that chickpea cooking liquid? Beautiful. That is actually, in terms of tahini, perfect. We don't need any more tahini. Only thing we're going to do is another big, generous pinch and a half of salt. And we're going to go ahead and get all of that whisked in one more time, guys. We're going to go ahead and whisk it in, whisk it in, whisk it in, whisk it in. This will not be a 4-hour stream, Jack. Trust me, we will be getting done with stuff really, really soon. Okay, just getting all of that salt nice and evenly mixed throughout. Let's give that a taste. That's perfect. Okay, that's exactly what I'm looking for out of a hummus, everybody. Okay, that's my molcajete hummus. I have made a mess in the kitchen and in the process of making it. This is a really, really good time to ask me any questions that you may have as I go ahead and I put a couple of things away. Remember, fundamentally, at its core, this is a home cooking show. Quite literally, I'm not just teaching you how to cook at home, but my studio is the home. And thus, I have to clean as I go. Because I don't want to be left with a million dirty dishes after the stream is done. So I'm going ahead and I'm just getting rid of a couple of things. Everybody, please bear with me. Please be nice and patient. Okay. And I will also be showing you how to properly plate a thing of hummus as well, and the way that I like to garnish it. Hummus is a very incomplete product, guys. It doesn't currently have the olive oil or the rest of the chickpeas on it quite yet, but we'll get there. I will show you exactly how I want you to be plating these things. The stream is running a little bit longer than anticipated today, guys. Once again, my apologies. But we're getting there. We're getting all of it done. Okay. Oof. I don't think I need my waste bowl for anything else either today. Let's go ahead and get that thrown into the dishwasher. Lovely. And get some of these bowls gone and out of the way too. Can Chef keep cooking until the State of the Union is over? Is there a State of the Union happening tonight? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see, but I have splashed all over my shirt. Everybody, we are now in the final stage for making my chickpea sandwiches. I know this is a very long stream because we did a lot of things by hand today. We made the hummus, we made the quick pickled onions, and now it is time for us to actually properly saute the chickpeas. We have some really nice dried out chickpeas that are going to get really nice and crispy in a pan. So I'm going to go ahead and get a nice large, you can use a non-stick pan or a stainless steel pan. For this, it doesn't typically matter too much. Okay, let's go to the stove, guys. Okay, hi. So, I'm sorry about that, I'm back. So, we got the stove going on a medium-high heat or so. We're going to go in with a very nice, generous glug of olive oil. You cannot have too much olive oil in something like this, guys. And so the idea is we want to get some really, really beautifully sauteed chickpeas. These chickpeas, these are the firm ones. These guys are going to get really, really nice and crispy. We're going to be seasoning these with the cumin, with the coriander, with the chilies, with the garlic, and finishing it with the fresh herbs. So while we're waiting for all that oil to heat up, everybody, I'm just wiping off my table one more time. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. And these chickpeas, guys, they're going to get crispy. They're going to get beautiful in that pan. All right, that is the goal. That is the intention. We're going to plate up a little bit of hummus as well on the side. I'm going to show you exactly how I like to do that. So you can do this in a bowl. I like doing this in a bowl. I see a lot of people, they do hummus plates. I think hummus plates are pretty cringe. I don't love them. I think they're kind of inconvenient to eat out of. So this is how you properly finish a thing of hummus. Okay? This is essential because a hummus is an incomplete product innately. The way that you finish some hummus, guys, everybody pay attention. I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody that is still watching. We're going to go in with, you know, a couple of nice big spoonfuls of the hummus that we made today. And I wanted mine really, really nice and creamy, like so. And we're going to basically spread it around a little bit, and we're going to make this divot in the center. If your hummus was thicker, of course, it would stand up a little bit better. Okay? And so what we do is we fill up this divot with the olive oil. You want a pool. I do properly mean a pool, a proper pool of olive oil. Okay? And then what you really, really want is that delicious textural contrast between the hummus, okay, and then also really, really nice to have. This is where you would put all of your other garnishes. Traditionally, classically, you would see people pull in a really, really nice little portion of some chickpeas directly on top, just like so. And then we're also going to do a little bit of the parsley, a little bit of the dill, a little bit of the coriander as well. Just right over the top, all over all of it. And that is now what I would call a finished one. A lot of people, they also really like having some za'atar on it. They really like having some cumin on it. But the olive oil is essential. If you need to garnish it with anything, it is the olive oil and then the chickpeas in order of priority. You need to garnish it with the olive oil because this hummus is an unfinished product otherwise. Can I please get a yes, chef, from everybody watching? But yeah, I wanted my hummus to be like really, really creamy. Hence, the texture and the viscosity of it. That's exactly what I was looking for. Delicious. Super good. Okay. Guys, the olive oil is heating up really, really nicely. And now, all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and saute those chickpeas. The olive oil is now nice and hot. We're going to go ahead and spread it around, and in goes that entire plate's worth of chickpeas. Okay, and they're going to fry really, really beautifully in this amount of olive oil. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and now generously season this whole thing with some salt, because even though there was some salt in the original cooking process, they're basically unsalted on the outside. Now, a little bit dry at this stage, and that's completely okay, because they're going to soak up some of the oil. They're going to get really, really nice and crispy and flavorful like this. Some salt going directly on top of the chickpeas. And we're going to go ahead and get these bad boys frying. And it's going to be really easy. We're going to fry them a little bit. We're going to add in the spices. We're going to add in the onion. It's going to be really, really delicious. Yeah, Jack, you would serve the hummus the same exact way for yourself. That's the same way that you would serve hummus for yourself. Okay? And so all I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and grab a nice little spoon, and we're going to just get these chickpeas slightly moving. We're looking to get them nice and browned. We're looking to get them nice and beautifully crispy, guys. And we're going to get them really, really nicely spiced as well. This is the final leg of the cooking show for today, guys. All we have to do is saute them. All we have to do is saute them. We're going to add the spices. We're going to get it really nice and crispy and beautiful. Chef, could I roast my hummus topping chickpeas for a bit for crunchiness? You absolutely can. In fact, what I would do is I would turn up the amount of time that we put it in the microwave for instead. That's what I would do if I were you. So we only did it for like 5-6 minutes. You can go like upwards of 10 minutes sometimes. Okay, depending on the texture that you so desire. Already starting to get there a little bit. Doesn't have that crunch yet, but it will as it continues to cook in that oil. Okay. Everybody, this is the last leg of the cooking show. We just have to cook up these chickpeas. We're going to saute them. We're going to get them really, really beautiful, really, really delicious. And then we're going to go ahead and build the sandwich. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? I'm sorry about how long today ended up going. It's actually a little bit over for me as well, because I have some stuff I need to get to tonight. Chef, can chickpeas be used for more stuff other than hummus and garnish? Asks Jack. Absolutely they can. Chickpea fritters are also really, really commonly eaten by a lot of different people. I love using chickpeas in salads. That's one of my favorite ways to actually end up using them. I love them, love them, love them in a salad. Okay guys, we're just continuing to get these chickpeas nice and crispy. But yeah, just even boiled or crispy chickpeas in a salad are pretty remarkable. They are, you know, I don't typically love calling food a meat substitute, but they can function truly as a meat substitute because of the texture that they have. How do I feel about seasoning hummus with, for example, cumin? We will be seasoning these with cumin. These chickpeas will be getting some cumin. And people really, really often, they garnish the top of their hummus with some cumin as well. But yeah, this chickpea is going to get hit with a lot of cumin at the end. So don't you worry about that. You're already on the right track. They're nice and firm, guys. You can see that they're picking up like a really, really beautiful golden color, right? They're getting nice and crispy on the outside. And we're just basically looking to cook them until they're as crispy as we want them, which is entirely decided and dictated by you. You're the chef. You're the one that decides how crispy you actually want your chickpeas to be for your sandwich. Okay. Really, really delicious. Okay, at this stage, that is nice. I'm going to go in with my sliced up onions, because my nicely sliced onion, it's all going to go inside, and it's going to all need a little bit more salt as well. salt going in, and we add the onions before the rest of the spices because we don't want them to burn, okay? We don't want any of the spices to burn. We don't want the garlic to burn. We don't want the chilies to burn, because those are the ones that are all capable of burning the most. And the onions, we want to give them proper time to get a little bit of color to make the whole thing really nicely and beautifully sweet as well. Just giving the whole thing a little bit of a shake, and we're continuing to keep it moving, guys. We're continuing to keep it cooking. It's going to be wonderful. Then we'll assemble and make these sandwiches happen. Okay, in the meantime, while this is going, while this is cooking, I'm just going to go ahead and give this another stir. All the way around. Excellent, looking good. We're actually just going to be building the components for the sandwich. All right? So, let's head back over here. We'll just make sure that we have everything out and everything ready to go for us today. Gonna get a nice big plate. Let's have all of our sandwich components out. We're going to grab, I have this really, really nice Eastern European style rye bread on which we'll be building the sandwiches. I don't want it toasted because I don't want it to be too brittle or anything. We're going to have these herbs going into the sandwich as well, right? And then I'm also going to get out my quick pickled onions. My quick pickled onions, they have been marinating this whole time. They've been getting nice and sweet and acidic. Yes, my kitchen island counter is lower than my other counter. How did you know that? How did you guess that? That is an incredibly astute observation. I'm not sure how you came to it. That's nice and crispy. That's delicious. Brand preferences? Brand preferences for what, Everglade? I'm not sure what you're asking me. Tarina, how could you say such a thing to me? Nice and crispy and delicious, guys. Beautiful. And again, I'm not really looking to cook these chickpeas to death or anything. Okay, but soon, guys, we're going to be assembling the sandwich. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back on over to the stove. And now, everybody, this is the point where we want to go ahead and add in the minced garlic as well as the chilies. We didn't add those in sooner because if we added them in sooner, they would have just ended up squelching instead. The garlic and the chilies, guys, they have to be added at this point in the cooking process to ensure that they don't end up charring. Okay, so we just want to go ahead and fry them up beautifully. And now the smell of the chilies, the smell of the garlic, everything is beautifully perfuming this lovely sauteed crispy roasted chickpea that we have here. Okay? And these are excellent in a wrap. These would be lovely in a salad as well. And now, guys, the final step is going to be the spices. And we're going to, well, second and final step. The last step is going to be the addition of the herbs. We're lowering the heat. And now we're toasting and perfuming the spices, aromatic. This is the final point, guys. We just have to make all the spices, all of the aromatics, all the garlic, all of the onion, all of it is going to go back into flavoring the chickpeas themselves. Nice and delicious. Wonderful. Let's give that a little taste. Wonderful. Spicy, crispy, delicious. Okay? Excellent. And now I'm going to do one more hit of salt, guys. One more little hit of salt because I want to make sure that everything is nicely and beautifully seasoned. And then we are going to go in with a big bundle of our fresh herbs and shut off the heat. We just want to soften these herbs, guys. We want to soften them. We want to incorporate them. We want them to get nicely and beautifully wilted. And that is my sauteed chickpea. That is it. Nice and simple, nice and easy, nice and crispy. You get the heat of the chilies, the earthiness of the cumin, the aroma of the coriander, the pungency of the garlic, and the sweetness of the onion. Everybody, I think it is time for us to now officially assemble the sandwich. It's time for us to do the very, very last step. It's going to be the assembly. So, is everybody ready to begin? I want to hear one more yes, chef, please, and thank you from everybody watching. Okay, guys, here's what's going to happen. I have in my fridge a little bit of arugula. I typically hate having salad leaves at home, but I figured, no, I'm not going to add arugula into a sandwich. I don't like lettuces, typically speaking, okay? Guys, here's what's gonna happen. We're going to go ahead and take a really nice, generous dollop. Remember, the finished hummus here. We don't really need to get like the chickpea pieces, but we want to go ahead and get all of that olive oil. And we want that to be the base. Chef, are baked chickpeas a good alternative? Yeah, you can do that. But you need this amount of olive oil in the sandwich, guys, okay? Nice and beautiful. Let's go ahead and smear that around. I don't care that the sandwich is about to get messy. It's fine. It's part of the job. Okay, let's get some nice dressing over here as well. Fine, I think we'll do some arugula. I'm looking at the sandwich, guys, and I think the sandwich would be a little bit flimsy without the addition of the arugula. So we're going to go ahead and add some in. I was looking at it and I was like, okay, fine, we'll do arugula. I typically hate arugula, but that's fine. But we need to make sure that we have enough hummus in the sandwich that it goes ahead and keeps the whole thing really nice and moist. And no, rectify, this is untoasted bread completely because I don't want my bread to be too brittle. I want my bread to have enough flexibility with it, okay? So I'm just going ahead. This is some pre-washed, I would never buy this. My mom bought this. It's fine. I'm not upset. I'm definitely upset about it. We're going to go ahead and get a bundle of arugula on this. I typically don't like having salad leaves at home. Okay. All of it going on now. That is indeed rye bread. Okay, so a nice little generous amount of arugula going on now. Nice and peppery. We'll see if it'll be a decent addition to the sandwich. I just typically hate everything that leaves stand for. That's fine. And now, guys, we're going to go in with a nice, generous amount of my crispy, my spicy, my seasoned chickpeas. Things are falling out of the sandwich, but that is completely okay. This is going to be a messy sandwich today, and I am ready for those consequences. So as a wrap, this might have been a little bit more ideal, I think, rather than a sandwich, but I was feeling a sandwich today. Or a salad, perhaps. It would be even better. Okay, guys, and now we're going to go in with some of these beautiful pickled onions that we have here. Okay, this is going to go ahead and bring a lot of refreshness, a lot of acidity into the sandwich, some sweetness. Well, Jack, that's because we made every single component here from scratch, and we took our time and we used the molcajete, which might have been actually a silly decision in retrospect. Okay, I want plenty of pickled onion. And then finally, the last addition, guys, it's going to be a really healthy, generous dose of these fresh herbs directly on top. My coriander, my parsley, and my dill on top. I think I actually want a little bit more hummus. I'm looking at the amount of hummus I have, and I don't think that that is actually sufficient. Okay, so let's go ahead and get another big dollop of hummus and spread it all around the top piece of bread that we have dedicated for it. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and seal this whole thing up to the best of our ability. Is this sandwich going to stay together? Most certainly not. It is going to fall apart. So perhaps not the ideal vessel, but that is completely okay, guys. It's fine. It happens to the best of us, doesn't it? Okay, and let's go ahead and see if we can get any existing cross-section from it whatsoever. Again, I didn't want to do toasted bread for this because it would have made it a little bit too brittle. Okay, is my cross-section fine? Is it decent? Let's find out. Not amazing. That is not an impeccable cross-section. Not the best. And chickpeas are definitely falling out. But guys, we have made every single component in here. We made the hummus and the molcajete. We made crispy, delicious roasted chickpeas. We made quick pickled onions. We put in some arugula and a lovely medley of parsley, of dill, and coriander as well. Let's have a little bite. This is not a good enough cross-section, I think, for a thumbnail. But that is okay. Oh, that's good. That's a good sandwich. The hummus and the onions, they make it really nice and moist. Every good sandwich needs a good sauce. It's creamy, it's spicy. Do I have arugula in my lip link? I do not have arugula in my lip link. Okay, everybody, that was a sandwich. It came out really, really well. It was really delicious. That might have been the most amount of effort I've ever put into a sandwich in my life. And that was really good. Okay, everybody, that is going to do it for today's stream. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all had a really, really lovely time. I'm going to be signing off for tonight. There is no stream this Friday. There is no stream this Sunday. I will be back this following up Wednesday. So Wednesday, whatever date that is, it is currently Thursday. Wednesday, 5 p.m. EST, I'm going to be posting the next schedule. Thank you all for being here. Exclamation mark Patreon if you want to support the streams, if you want to support what we do here, because I want to go ahead and make this, what I do full time. Thank you all. Thank you to all the new people that ended up stopping by, especially the breadworms. I saw that you were active the whole time. Thank you all. I will see you once again in a week, in 6 days from now, Wednesday, 5 p.m. EST. Okay. Until then, stay safe. Have a really good Thursday. Take care. And once again, I appreciate all of you. Bye-bye.